Hello and welcome to episode 16 of In PS We Trust. My name's Davey and joined with me as always is Phil.
You knows it.
And Spencer.
Let's go.
We're a fortnightly PlayStation podcast and we each bring one topic of discussion to the table to go in depth on. But first, before we do that, boys, I have an email.
Oh,
Okay.
hello.
Damn.
This is starting a little bit different.
I know.
So, do you remember we had a woman write in who was a massive fan called Cabrina?
Obviously.
Do you remember that?
Obviously.
Well, for the listeners that don't remember, Cabrina wrote in and basically turned out that she gave us her life story and then she needed help to transfer a couple of million from over in her account to over in the UK and she needed bank details.
She heard you were in the industry and she was reaching out for some help, Davey.
She did, and we opened it up to the audience to respond to her. And so we had Willard responded with an absolutely incredible message, and then we just had nothing else back, which was a real shame. But we had somebody new write in. So I had an email come, and it just said hello.
That was it. Literally an email that just said hello.
And that was just in the subject, yeah, hello.
In the subject, nothing in the body.
Nothing in the body. And I thought, okay, I'll respond to this. I just put hello. And so then we get this email back, and this is from Rebecca. Thank you very much for your kind and quick reply to my mail. I told you before, my name is Rebecca Minor. She never did. And I'm a United States citizen and from Pullman, Washington. Team Washington, let's go. I'm 29 years old and a single woman. I deployed to Afghanistan for a peacekeeping mission due to the war crisis going on here in Afghanistan. More about me. I'm down to earth, God-fearing, loving, caring. I believe in love and humanity. I love kids, basketball, music, swimming. I also believe that with God, all things are possible. Dear, bit sudden, I have my reasons for contacting you. As I have something very important to share with you in my next mail, I wish to start a very strong relationship with you, and my relationship with you will bring a lot of great changes in your life. I want to understand that relationships do not count distance and age. Maybe we can start as friends or go into business partners with my funds, which I need to invest with urgent assistance. Dear, what do you do for a living to overcome economical expenses and to sustain your life and family? I know we just know each other, but we can share ideas and discuss important things and more issues as we talk about ourselves. I like to think positively, and I care about other people's feelings. I'll be very happy to know about you. Like your hobbies, interests, lifestyles, religious beliefs. I'd also love to see your pictures. Like I always say, I have very, and then 3 exclamation marks. Next sentence, important issue to share and discuss with you in my next mail, so that you will give me a solution about it. Let me stop here for now. I expect an urgent response from you soon. Signs off yours faithfully, Sergeant Rebecca Minor. And it's full of pictures.
Oh.
So
Really?
for our blind listeners, you can't see this, but there's pictures of a lady on there.
Any blue?
No, no blue.
No blue, sadly.
All just in like her marine uniform and stuff. So I replied to that, and I said, hello dear, I love a cheeky bit of God, me. Which one's your favourite? Personally, the Holy Ghost seems like the OG. It can get everywhere, so you always have to be nice. I'm also a big fan of Ganesh because I love the amount of arms he's got. What's your thoughts? So I had a reply to that, and it is ridiculously long. It's to the point, right, where it is actually laughably long. And it goes on for ages about nothing until the final sentence, which is all about, out of the total fund, my share is $4,700,000. I'm seeking your assistance to evacuate my share of the money, which is $4,700,000, so the entire lot, to your place as quickly as possible. Blah, 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 blah. She was off about how the fact she needs help with moving it, right? So I replied to that. To be clear, I'd love to help, but I need to know this isn't a scam. Can you please send me a picture with you doing a handstand while reading the Bible? Your military training and love of our Lord should make this request simple. Kind regards, Barry. So we shall wait and see what happens, listeners. If she comes back to me, I may be in for $4,700,000 here.
Mate, if that comes true, just imagine that.
If that happens, I'm going to do one final episode just to sign off, and that's it. I'm gone. You won't see me again.
Entitled Game Over.
But after that bombshell, boys, what are you drinking today?
Spence, tradition dictates you go first on this.
Alright, well, today, boys, as we know, I've evolved from the man I once was.
Drink-wise.
Drink-wise, yeah. And gaming-wise.
Do you notice his voice got deeper then as he said that?
Yeah.
He was like, he like finished it. He was like, yeah, drink wise.
But he has got less facial hair now. For our blind listeners, Spencer's had a shave.
He is in a wife beater though.
Also true. Showing off my chest here to make up for my mustache.
If he's drinking Stella, then I feel sorry for Georgia.
Oh, she's left, mate. She's gone. She knows what's about to happen.
He's already told her once.
Right, back on topic, yeah. My drink for this evening is Famous Grouse Whiskey. And for some reason it's called the Famous British and Irish Lions, because it's rugby themed.
All right, Grandad, you've matured a little bit too much on the famous grouse.
In it, yeah.
You've grown up way too fast.
All I'm saying is 70cl was £15, and I fancied some whiskey tonight. So I'm mixing it with some Pepsi Max Cherry, and I also have Pepsi Max Raspberry for when that runs out, and it's in my PlayStation trophy glass.
Well, that definitely evens it out a little bit, doesn't it?
Brings the age down quite a bit, that does.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. If you're mixing it with Pepsi Max Cherry.
I had to balance it, you know.
In a PlayStation trophy themed glass. I think it all comes down to bring it down to a good age. No, that's fair. That's good, mate. I'm still proud of you.
Thank you.
Better than what Phil's going to be on, I'm sure. So, Phil, what are you drinking today?
Well, Davey, since Spencer hasn't been, purchasing the Budweisers, I've seen their stock price dip a little bit. I'm an avid stock watcher and trader. So I thought, do you know what? We'll boost it up a little bit. We'll boost that economy. So I've dipped in. I've got myself the classic Budweiser.
It takes two, because I'm on the same. So, but in my defense, it's the same crate that I had last time, same 20 bottles. So I got like 7 or 8 left. So I think that would tie me through the rest of this podcast.
And another reason why I'm sticking to Buds tonight is the last podcast. I don't know if anyone noticed. I was horrendously drunk.
No, I'm sure they did notice.
Listening back to that, it was painful for me. I'm sure it was seamless in the edit for everyone else listening. But for me, yeah, it wasn't great. I think I got through maybe 6 to 8 beers. I think I did a bottle of wine in, and then we had Jägermeister shots. So, yes, it was probably one of the worst hangovers I've ever had in my entire life.
But what a night.
Well,
you can't remember.
Yeah, can't remember. Can't remember. The whole podcast was a blur to me, and I was listening back to it going, Jesus Christ, what am I even going on about?
So who knows what's going to happen this crazy episode, but one thing we do know is that we will be covering Resident Evil Village and Returnal later in the podcast. So as we move now into what we've been playing, we are not going to be talking about those games because they are a separate topic later, so we can really go in depth on them.
And even when we do get to them, there'll be no spoilers. For anyone who is thinking about purchasing those games, we'll avoid any boss fights or any kind of specifics of the game, and we'll try and talk in general terms, just to keep things safe.
So the only thing I've been playing the last 2 weeks is Resident Evil 6. And I've got a full review up on my YouTube with my thoughts. So I'm not going to bore you to death with those listeners because that's a 22-minute video on there. So I go pretty far. But I did play that game through on co-op with Spencer. And Spence, we haven't really spoken about it. So tell me, what are your thoughts on the game? And just go into it.
Resident Evil 6. We played 5 together. We were looking forward to that. We played 6 together. I was dreading it. I did not want to play that game. I would have been happy to just skip it. But then we booted it up. We played the first campaign. It was fun. Not gonna lie. I actually really enjoyed it.
Had a great time with Leon's campaign. Yeah, incredible.
Leon and frickin' Helena. Terrible name, by the way.
I don't know why you got such a problem with the name Helena.
It's the stupid name. Why'd they just chuck a H on Elena? If any listeners are called Helena, grow up. No, you're not.
Can I assume you were the girl again, Spence?
I'm always the girl, mate.
Okay.
It's just my role in life. I play Dark Souls, Demon Souls, I'm a female. I play a game where I can be male. Nah, not happening. Those crouching through vent scenarios, you can't be male, can you?
There is a lot
Can't
of
be happening.
upskirt in this game. There is a lot
lot.
of upskirt.
I even got to speak about Deborah, mate.
Oh,
Jesus. But all in all, RE6, obviously, 4 different campaigns. I'll go through it in order. Leon and Helena's, brilliant. Actually brilliant. The game should have just ended there. I'd have been very happy if the game finished. Then you play as Chris and Piers. It was okay. Probably third best campaign, but it was just a mess through and through. It was a mess. A lot of it didn't make any sense. Then you play as Jake and Sherry. Obviously I was Sherry because she's a girl. But that was just Chris and Piers times 2. It was just repeating the campaign.
Yeah.
Not a lot of point. Literally no reason for it.
There's so much crossover, isn't there? That it's just, it's actually ridiculous how much there is. And especially with those 2 campaigns, with Chris and Piers and Jake and Sherry, you end up just doing the entire game again, don't you? Except for the part where they cross over with Leon.
Yeah.
So this game was sort of released with all the campaigns together, wasn't it? It wasn't sold episodically or anything like that.
No, it was all of them except Ada's you only unlocked after beating the first 3 campaigns. But then after Jake and Sherry, obviously you get Ada's campaign. And Ada's campaign was supposed to be a single player campaign. So when me and Davey played that together, I played the role of agent, which means I was just a dude, just in a body armor. I didn't show up in any cutscenes. I couldn't open chests. I couldn't open doors. I couldn't interact with anything. There was a good amount of puzzles in that game, to be fair, for Ada's campaign. I couldn't do them.
That feels really strange for them to like switch up from having 3 sort of campaigns that are sort of really 2-player focused, and then to switch just to have that single player experience.
Yeah, it's weird, and I don't understand. It made no sense. I think it would have been better if they just left it as a single player campaign and said, you've had your co-op fun, just enjoy Ada, because she works alone, you know?
From what I know about the game, Ada's there to sort of tie the stories together, isn't she? Do you feel like it was maybe an afterthought that maybe the playtesters played the 3 separate campaigns and thought, do you know what, the story's a bit disjointed here, we need something to tie it together, and they tacked that onto the end, possibly?
I think that's very much the case, and also it's just, they were like, who the fuck can we pair Ada up with? Who could she even work with? And they were like, oh, just chuck a bloke in a suit. Chuck our man Roy in there. He can work with Ada.
She's always been, hasn't she, on her own, like a lone wolf throughout all the games. Wherever she's appeared, she's always like, yeah, just on her own.
Yeah, she just fucks off right away. But then, because of this, and I'm Agent, she grapple hooks all the time. She always has. So Agent just has the ability to teleport for some reason.
He's busted.
Because she'll grapple hook. He's busted, in theory. In theory, Agent is busted. Because whenever Ada needs to go somewhere, she just grapple hooks away. She doesn't give a fuck about Agent. But she knows. She doesn't have to give a fuck. Because he'll just teleport to her location.
He's got that
fine.
Super Saiyan kind of teleportation going
Instant
on.
transmission.
Instant transmission,
yeah. The name.
Yeah, but it's like the reason that campaign, granted, it's probably the second best campaign it is.
Yeah, probably.
Just because of how it ties the story and it's the shortest. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's really fun and it's so different from all the other campaigns. It's definitely like the one campaign after your first playthrough that's worth your time. But as the person playing Agent, a lot less so. There were even situations where I couldn't trigger cutscenes. Only Davey could, playing as Ada. So there were scenarios where he would progress slightly ahead, trigger the cutscene, and I would just be locked out of the fight.
Yeah, you'd be stuck behind the door, wouldn't you? Because it would just close in front
I'd be
of your
stuck
face.
behind the door. Yeah, exactly. You'd be locked in a room, and I'd just be through the window that I couldn't even shoot through. I couldn't even help. I was just stuck there watching, which meant by the end I had so much ammo.
Feels like an afterthought, doesn't it?
100% an afterthought. Even times where I was ahead of you in like scenarios that would trigger a cutscene, and I was just at the end waiting. I couldn't do anything. I was just waiting because it didn't trigger the cutscene. So that was peak. But I will say, overall, I enjoyed 6 way more than I thought I would. And I don't think it deserves the hate it gets.
So you had fun in the game, Spence?
I had a lot of fun. There were some situations where we had so much fucking fun. Kia!
Oh, even though the melee system's been toned down from 5, it's still just so much fun. Just absolutely just beating the living piss out of an enemy. It is just so fun. What do you think about the movement in Resident Evil 6 in comparison to I suppose the ones that's easiest to compare it to, I suppose, are 4 and 5, because they're the ones that are kind of that same kind of action mold.
Yeah.
What do you feel about the improvements they made to movement and shooting and stuff like that?
I think it's just fun. It just feels like they thought, how do we add a dodge mechanic? And they did it. And then they thought, how do we make it goofy as shit? And they were like, yeah, let's do that too. So you're just freaking diving all around the shop. You kick open a door, roll over, clear, 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 clear. And then you don't even need to stand up because you just roll all the way to the side. It's brilliant. It's really funny. It's stupid, but it's funny.
I know there was quite a few sort of complaints that, Resident Evil 5 had gone too action-based and wasn't scary enough for the traditionalists of Resident Evil. Do you feel like Resident Evil 6 made up for this in any way?
No. Resident Evil 6, it's an action game through and through. There's no fear in the game whatsoever. There's no puzzles other than maybe like 2 in Ada's campaign, maybe 1 in Leon's, and that's it. So it's not a Resident Evil game. It's a new blood Resident Evil game, I'd say, where when they took that turn to action games, this was the perfect. Well, 4's probably the better one, isn't it? But this is probably what they meant to make after 5. This is what they wanted 5 to be.
That's what I was going to say. Like if you think of 4, 5, and 6 as the action-based Resident Evils, which one of those fulfills the action kind of genre better than the others? You're still sticking with 4?
Tell you what, no, I'd say probably 6. I feel because it's hard to say. It's all the same, but it's the times are different. Because 4 probably fits it best in that time, but then at the time 6 was released, 6 was proper, true to action games at that time.
The problem with 4 is that 4 tries to think it's scary, but it's just not. Whereas 6 knows it's not scary. 6 knows it's not. 6 is just ridiculous. And it's just laugh out loud funny. Like throughout the entire game, the amount of times we just burst out laughing at a cutscene or something, is so hilarious. It's so over the top. But in terms of comparing the two games, in my opinion, 4 is miles better than 6. Just because 6 is just far too long. It stretches on for, it feels like infinity when you're playing it. I don't know how you feel about that, Spence.
I couldn't agree more. It's way too long, and it's wacky and it's funny for like the first time you play it, and it's great. But then you have to do that 4 times, and it's like it. As funny as it is the first time, it just gets old so quick. Like grinding a helicopter on a train can only be brilliant so many times.
So sort of going back to what I originally said about the game, releasing all together, do you think it would have been better served if it came out episodically? So maybe you'd had Leon's campaign and then there was a couple of months before you dipped back in and then you got to play Chris's campaign. Do you feel if they split it up, it would have been received a bit better?
I think that would have worked better if there were more holes in the story in the specific campaigns. So each story could fill in the holes better than they did. Because then obviously you'd be looking for reasoning in the next episode, wouldn't you? You'd want them to fill in the holes.
That's always the thing with episodical games, is that they split them up so the developers have got more time to create a thicker story and add more mechanics and kind of make the game a lot better. So possibly with Resident Evil 6, this was my feeling anyway when I played it. If they had split it up, it would have been a much better game than if they had just gone, big bang, here's the 4 campaigns, which definitely the last one felt as if it was an afterthought just to tie it together.
I think it would be good episodically if it did have a lot more holes in the story. But it just didn't. You just knew. After beating Leon and Helena's, you just kind of knew the whole story. And that was it. They filled in little gaps, but they weren't gaps that needed filling in, really.
I think this brings me on to a question that we've never actually tackled on this podcast, actually, in any real depth. So it's worth bringing up here, even though it is kind of off topic to a certain extent. Like I said in my review, the thing that I hate about it is just how long it is. And that it's just too long, and it would have been a better served experience being like 6 hours as opposed to 20. Now, game length is something that seems to come up all the time for people. And they always say, oh, it's not worth it. It's only like a 6-hour experience. So it's not worth it. You're done in 4 hours, right? It's not worth the money. And my stance on that is always the case of, I'd much prefer a shorter experience that's just great all the way through, rather than something that just outstays its welcome and you end up hating it. And that's how I felt with 6. But what do you guys feel about that? Which way would you prefer it to go? Or do you think it's kind of a grey area?
So for me, I think as I get older and I've got less and less time to sort of invest into games, even though I literally play games all the time, but there's so many games to play, I think that's more of my problem these days. I like the experiences to be short, for those developers to invest that amount of development time into the shorter story, so it is a better experience.
I've always been a person that has a lot of time to play games. I have so much time. I'm still young. But
Ouch.
not a dig at you, boys.
Ouch.
Sorry, not a dig. It's not a dig. Not
Fucking was a
intentionally
dig.
digging you, boys.
Jesus.
I'm
I felt
sorry.
that.
I'm
Felt that.
sorry.
I felt
Stuck
it.
right in that, didn't it? Went deep, didn't it?
That was both fists to the face.
It was. It was. Oh.
Hadouken!
Don't be old then, you know.
KO.
Just don't be old, you know. But I've always liked short games. I've always preferred short games, long games, because I never had the attention span to just stick with an 80-hour game that was maybe brilliant at the start and then maybe mediocre to good throughout the middle. I'd just rather a nice, short, sweet experience I could beat in one sit-in or two, like 2 or 3 sit-ins, and just enjoy the whole thing. Even if it's short, like Journey's an hour long, really, but that's brilliant. Bioshock Infinite, when that came out, I beat it in one night, loved it. Short games aren't the issue if the game's brilliant, and that's it. Like, again, Last of Us 1, 12 hours, really, I beat it in 4 hours the next day. Not that long, but brilliant. Last of Us 2, brilliant, bit too long. But it was just enough that it kind of overstayed its welcome, but not to the point where it put me off the game.
Yeah, no, 100% with Last of Us 2. It's like, as we said many times in this podcast before, an absolutely like sensational experience. But would I have potentially felt even more hyped on it if it was maybe 3 hours less? You know, not like crazy amount difference, but just the point when you're going from a 12 to a 15-hour experience, those 3 hours there extra, or it can be tough sometimes to warrant its stay in there. Even though The Last of Us kind of does, but I did want it to end by the end.
I think your
exactly.
excitement plateaus, doesn't it, at a certain point where you think, if it just carries on, I'm going to dip in my opinion here because it's taking too long.
Yeah, I think there's certain things to that, and I suppose it kind of depends on the genre, doesn't it? And you know, like if you had an RPG that was over in 6 hours, you'd probably be thinking, oh well, fucking hell, that's ridiculous, right? Or like an MMO or something, you've done all the content in 6 hours. But
Imagine that'd be hilarious. It'd be brilliant.
Can you imagine?
I think we're all talking about, you know, single player or, you know, multiplayer, 2-player, story driven narrative games, aren't we here?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's the Sony special, isn't it?
Sony special.
The Sony special, baby.
That's pretty encouraging that we all think the same, because I suppose that would have been the thing that saved Resident Evil 6, wouldn't it? If it had been a little bit shorter, maybe our opinion, we would have been on here talking crazy amounts of stuff, saying it's better than Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5. Christ, it would have ranked pretty high, to be fair, on my...
It would have. All they had to do was cut out Sherry and Jake.
Cut out all of it, really.
I think the reason they included
think
Jake, though, is because everyone wants Wesker back.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason he's there. Even though I think you bring up in the review, Davey, that he doesn't want anything to do with Wesker. So it's like, yeah, I'm to do with Wesker, but I'm nothing to do with Wesker.
No, but then if you mention him,
Yeah.
if you mention his dad, he's pissed.
But I'm annoyed if you ever mention my dad. Like, it doesn't make any sense, does it?
No, it's ridiculous. And that's all I've played, lads. That is literally it. All I've been doing is literally just putting YouTube videos together, playing Resident Evil 6. It's been a pretty grim 2 weeks, to be honest. But Spencer, you finally finished off your run of Resident Evils because you played Resident Evil 7.
I did. And I'm fucking prepared for RE7. I've written some notes.
Just to nip in there, do we get a rating? We normally do ratings on the show, don't
for
we?
RE6.
So let's have a rating for RE6 before we get to RE7.
Oh, I thought we were going to do it at the end.
Man.
But yeah, we can do it now.
I want to hear it now. Come on.
Ooh, it's hard. Especially with what I've been rating other games, you know.
What, 10s?
That's what makes it extra hard. No, I ain't giving any 10s. You crazy. Other than It Takes Two.
I thought you liked my cat.
Yeah, I didn't give it a 10. I gave it like a 6. But that means I have to give... Because Resident Evil 6 is probably better than my cat, not going to lie. But it's a different genre of game, innit? Because it's a Resident Evil game, but it ain't a puzzle game.
This is your ratings here, Spence. You know, you're the one in charge of your own destiny here.
You're right. I'll give it a 6. 6.5, 6. A strong 6.
So Resident Evil
So
6
it's on the higher.
gets 6.
Guess the 6.
On my ranking for it, I'll give it about 5. Maybe a 4.
I give it a 6 just because of those highlights of the amount of fun we were having.
It's just, yeah.
Those carried it. I think you're forgetting as well that the most fun session we had wasn't even Leon and Helena. It was Chris and Piers.
I don't think so.
It was early Chris and Piers. It was.
It's not saving it. It's not saving it. It's fucking
No, it's
shocker.
not saving
it's a
it.
shocker.
But
I'm giving it 5. 5 out of 10. Davey official, 5 out of 10. Middle of the road. Bad game. So I suppose the most important thing to ask you, Spence, what are your overall thoughts on Resident Evil 7?
I loved it. Brilliant game. Best story. It is just the best story. You can disagree with me, but that's fine. It's best story. The gameplay's amazing. I didn't like the lighting because as the game started, you start outdoors. I looked up and the sky looked like arseholes. I don't know why. Maybe it was just me, but I hated it. Molded. Not great enemies. Variation was shit. Killed them all the same way. Textures weren't great, but then during the house segments they were, so it's fine. Videotapes, phenomenal. Game itself, not really that scary after the opening. Once you figure out how the game works, game's not scary at all. The ambience is shit. Creepy at first, but then shit when you realise how it works. The pacing's amazing. Crafting and map systems, brilliant. I'll end it there.
Well, we need your rating, Spence. And then we need your list as well.
Oh, we'll go for my predictions compared to my actual...
Well, we need your rating first. So if you've gone Resident Evil 6 as a 6, is Resident Evil 7 going to be a 7?
Can you imagine rating Resident Evil 7 a 7?
Shit. Oh, alright. Oh, shit. Resident Evil 7. It's an 8.2.
You can't have...
You're getting points. You're getting points now. Your rating system's changed. You're now getting points involved.
It's at this point.
Well, I said 6 was a 6.5, and then instead of saying that, I said it's a strong 6.
So you now
So I'll
moved to like a
say
20-point scale.
8.2.
Oh no! Oh my god! It's like a
It's like
100-point scale.
100 point
It's an 82.
scale, isn't
Point
it?
scale. Wow.
It's moved from 10.
No, it's an 82
10 to
Metacritic,
100.
isn't it?
He's got a lot of variance now.
It's an 82 Metacritic. That's what it gets.
Phil, I know you love this game. If you had to do a ranking on it, what would you rank it?
I think it's my third favourite Resident Evil.
And what would you give it out of 10 or out of 100? If that's on your scale.
It's so hard because I think, my top I'd probably love to give a 10, but I couldn't give that a 10, right? Because I'll give Death Stranding a 10. So Resident Evil 2, 10. So I would assume my second would be a 9 and this would be an 8.
Fair.
But you like it a bit more, so you're going to give it an 8.2.
But my second choice, people don't like, but I just loved it.
What's your second choice?
My second choice is Resident Evil 5.
5.
Wow.
Absolutely
Yeah,
love
I knew
Resident
it'd be
Evil 5.
Wow. That's mad.
But
okay.
I know when you do your ratings, I know when you do your YouTube videos, you're looking for different things that I'm looking for within a Resident Evil game.
Yeah, true.
And for me, Resident Evil 5 lived up to expectations for me. And it was filled with Albert Wesker.
Yeah, it was.
The best character. And it was an action game. It was a departure from, what I'd loved with 2 and everything else. So it was just a different Resident Evil. And I think the same as 7, it's a different one again. If you look at my top 3, they're all different versions of Resident Evil. You've got the core, which is Resident Evil 2. You've got your action, which is Resident Evil 5. And then you've got back to horror with Resident Evil 7.
So, this brings up to what we've been wanting to discuss now for pretty much this entire year. Leading up from probably January all the way up until now, we get Spence's completed list. So, give us your predictions and then give us your final list before Resident Evil Village.
Okay, so my predictions, I have them both on screen. My predictions were number 1, Resident Evil 2. Number 2, Resident Evil 1. Number 3, Resident Evil 3. Number 4, Resident Evil 7. Number 5, Resident Evil 4. Number 6, Resident Evil 5. And number 7, Resident Evil 6. And I will say, it's close, but it's not exactly right.
So far, up until this episode, your list has been accurate throughout, hasn't it? However you predicted it, it's turned out exactly the same until this episode. So, lay it on us, Spence. How's the list look?
Alright, so the best is Resident Evil 2. Second is Resident Evil 1. Third is Resident Evil 7. Fourth is Resident Evil 3. Fifth is Resident Evil 4. Sixth is Resident Evil 6. And 7th is Resident Evil 5. But I will say, that's my experience with Resident Evil, because I really enjoyed those highlights of RE6. Resident Evil 5 itself may be a better game than 6, but I enjoyed my time with 6 more than I did with 5.
We all look for different things. And that's the beauty of Resident Evil, that there is so much in it and there's so many games. And we're just talking about the main line of the games. We're not even going into, all the additions, right? So there's Gun Survive, like, what are all the other games? I can't even remember
Well, I may have to end up covering them, so we may end up hearing about them for fucking forever on this podcast, but we'll
So we
see
got
what
like
happens.
Umbrella Chronicles, we got Umbrella Corps, we got Umbrella Chronicles
got
2,
Gaiden.
we got Resident Evil Gaiden, we've got like
Dead Aim.
Outbreaks, Dead Aim, that's the one I was trying to
Jesus.
think about, right? There's so many Resident Evil titles out there to discover. And of course, Dino Crisis and Dino Crisis 2 are Resident Evil games as well,
Yeah,
just with dinosaurs.
Devil May Cry.
Yeah, but then alternatively, yeah, I was about to say you might do Devil May Cry, and DMC was built on the RE4, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a failed prototype of RE4, so who knows?
Imagine what Resident Evil 4 could have been.
Oh, I mean, I'm glad it gave us DMC. DMC is so sick.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Leon jumping
Jeez.
around, shooting things with double guns?
It would be like Twin Snakes from Metal Gear all over again.
Jesus Christ.
Listeners, if you remembered last week, I set a challenge, which is now going to go on until we get a winner. Our listenership is mostly centered around the UK, but we're getting a big audience in the US, and it's our second biggest country out of the entire world. Inside that, we can break down those stats, and we all had a team that we were going to support. So lads, do you remember your teams? Phil, why don't you start us off? Which team were you?
I was Team Texas, mate. I think they were in third place last episode, and I tried to rally the troops together to try and push out the podcast to more listeners around Texas. So let's hope they've jumped up the league a little bit here.
Spencer, do you remember who you were?
Team fucking Washington, baby. Number one, tried and true. Let's get it.
And I am Team Alabama, the best state in the US. As the best host, that is fact. So, it's interesting to know what our stats show this time. So I'm going to pull them up. And let's just put a reminder out there. The winner for 3 episodes in a row is going to win a surprise prize. And if nobody submits an address for where I send that surprise prize, it's going to go to your mayor with a note on there for the podcast. So hopefully then they'll tweet at me or something and we can share it out.
Do all states have mayors?
Surely you're bound to
Yeah,
have a mayor,
surely.
right?
I think so. One of them has a dog as a mayor.
Can you imagine we sent
Sent it
Send
to a
something to a
dog.
dog.
Send it to a dog.
that would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be actually better than anything else. Whichever state that is, someone please let us know. So, the stats at the moment, in third place, is tied
Ooh.
with Texas
Oh,
and Virginia.
Virginia
We have
coming
a
up
new
strong.
contender. We have a new contender. So Virginia, yeah, tying up with Texas with 10% of the overall American listenership.
This feels very Street
Jeez.
Fighter.
Virginia. So, second place, Alabama, boys. You've actually slipped back, okay? You're at 19% of the overall listenership now. Come on. Come on, lads. Come on. You're representing me. Come on. That means, in first place, with a massive 31%, they've grown it by 10% from last episode, Washington. Washington pulling up strong. So that's 2 weeks on the bounce. So one more episode. If Washington, if you can do it, if you can hold on to that top spot, you're going to have to send me an address. Otherwise, your mayor's getting a surprise prize. And will that surprise prize be a copy of Robot Wars from PlayStation 1 that's sitting in my shelf? Yeah, probably will be.
Yeah.
It's actually taking up space. It's actually becoming a bit of a hindrance now. So yeah, it probably will be that. But we'll keep an eye on it. Now, remember, if you want to take part in the show itself, write in, let us know your thoughts, any topic submissions, anything like that. Reach out to us on the email, pswetrust@gmail.com.
And of course, you can join us on Reddit. The Reddit link will be posted in the description of the podcast. Make sure to tell me which state you're from. And of course, if you're from Texas, shout me out.
And of course, you can reach out to us on Twitter @InPSWeTrust. And we also have our individual Twitter accounts, which I'm sure will be in the description below as well. And also, please feel free to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. So, boys, we're going into quick news. And as we know, now that we're past the What Are We Playing section, that means that the Resident Evil button has been activated. So if there is any further mention of Resident Evil outside of topics that are appropriate to it, because I'm sure there's one coming up, we will have to be punished. Maybe by a smack along the cheek, maybe by a shot. That depends on who's punishing you to decide. So, our first bit of quick news. the new games of PlayStation Plus for May. Basically, we get Battlefield 5, Stranded Deep. I know Davey loves a bit of Stranded Deep. And we get Wreckfest, Drive Hard, Die Last. What is that?
That's a terrible tagline in there. Absolutely.
That's a terrible
that's the name.
tagline.
Terrible.
That's why
It sounds like something like a Vin Diesel movie, doesn't it?
It does.
Die
it does.
Hard.
it sounds
Die
like
Last.
no. They wanted to call it Die Hard, but they couldn't. So it's Drive Hard, Die Last.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. So what are your interests with these boys? Spencer, you got any interest in trying any of these games out?
Well, after your glowing review of Stranded Deep, last time I asked you about the game, maybe I'll tip my toes into it a little bit, see if it's just as good as you said it was. I heard you were going for the platinum.
Oh my god. Do you know what? I would rather eat glass than do that. That game is an act against human nature. It's actually a crime to play that game. It's that bad. It's actually horrendously bad. Please, listeners, I know we normally end these sections by telling you, make sure to put all these to your download list. Don't add that to your download list. It's horrendous. It's actually really bad. You've got to be stranded on an island with nothing else to play that game. It's that bad.
I actually agree. I was there when you played it. I completely agree.
Yeah, are you gonna play any of these then, Spence?
Battlefield 5, I'm sure if we all play it, we'll have a lot of fun with it. Otherwise, I'm not going to play it on my own. Maybe play the story, that's it. Wreckfest, which is our PS5 game for the month, it looks fun, but that's it. I guess the best thing to say is this game technically isn't even out yet. It comes out next month, but PlayStation get it early. And we'll get it early a month before release for free. So that's very nice. But it just looks like dumb fun. That is all it is. It's what Destruction All Stars should have been. If I play it, I'm not going to put time into it. It just looks like maybe if us three hopped on, it'd be good. So if we decide to do that, yeah, I'll play it. Otherwise, no, I'm good.
What about yourself, Phil? What are you thinking?
Seeing as you boys have forked out for PS Plus for me, I'll download them all. Well, I won't download them all. I'll add them all to my library as you do. But I've got a lot of games to play at the moment. Of course, I'm currently playing through a certain game we cannot mention, and Returnal. Can always go back to Oddworld Soulstorm as well, because I'd like to put some more time into that. But I'm up for joining you boys if you do want to play a bit of Battlefield or Wreckfest.
Yeah, I suppose for myself, Battlefield 5 is actually one that I've wanted to pick up for a while. So I'm actually quite happy it's on this list because I'm a massive fan of Battlefield. I platinum Battlefield 4, platinum Battlefield 1, platinum Battlefield 3 actually as well now I'm thinking about it.
Oh, brilliant game.
Love that game. But Battlefield 5, when it released, didn't release in a good state. Nobody was really overly fussed about it, so I thought I'd wait for a sale. And then just time went. And do you know that game came out in 2018? Do you know, I didn't even realise that until I researched it. 2018 that game came out. That's mad. It feels like only yesterday. But yeah, so I'm definitely going to check it out and at least do the story. And if you guys are up for it, I'll jump into a bit of online. But I'll see what the trophy list is. If the trophy list is crazy, then I might not get any further in it than that, but we'll see how it goes.
We've still got to play some Remnant, boys.
Yeah, we do. Way
True,
overdue for Remnant.
Really. Yeah, I'd love to just enter Zen one more time.
Yeah, and me. But in terms of Wreckfest and obviously Stranded Deep, not really too interested. I'm just hoping, like you said, Spence, I'm hoping that Wreckfest is just Destruction All Stars, but good. And that's all I want it to be.
I've seen gameplay of Wreckfest. I have a bit of insight into Wreckfest, and it is entirely just dumb fun. I feel like if you weren't playing it with friends, it's not worth your time. If you have a good group of friends to play with, it'll be fun for an hour or two. But that is literally it.
I think it's worth jumping on because it is our PS5 offering this month, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we'll try it out.
Do we know if it, takes advantage of any of the, features on the PS5, or is it just a PS5 game?
Fam, I've no idea.
I guess we'll tell you next episode then, listeners.
So next bit of quick news, we're moving into the PlayStation Now lineup. And last month was phenomenal with Avengers and for Borderlands 3. This month is following on the same suit. Some amazing games here, or amazing games for me, I should probably add it as a preference, because we got Jump Force, which is the anime fighter. So that's where you can play as Goku, Vegeta, Frieza, all the heroes from Bleach, from My Hero Academia. All the anime that I love is in one fighting game. Now, apparently that fighting game is a load of shit, but it looks like dumb fun. And I cannot wait to dive into that and have a good laugh with that. That is available from May 4th on its launch up until August 2nd on PS Now. So if you're interested, get on it, have a little look, check it out. Neo, the PlayStation exclusive from PS4, is on the service. Nioh, if you haven't played it, is a Japanese samurai version of Dark Souls. And that's probably the closest way I can put it. It's really hard. It's ridiculously hard. It's actually harder than Dark Souls by a country mile. Really, really good. Love that game. A lot of love for it. It is joining that service from May 4th on its launch with no end date. So you've got plenty of time to try that. And finally, rounding out the trio is Streets of Rage 4, which is available from its launch on May 4th all the way until November 1st. And Streets of Rage, as we all said on this podcast before, massive fans of Streets of Rage. I've never played Streets of Rage 4. It's been on my hit list for ages. I cannot wait to dive into that now and play it. Have you lads got any thoughts on these games?
Streets of Rage, incredible game. I played it on the Switch. I think I downloaded it because I had some free credit that I needed to spend because, as we all know, when you buy things on the Switch, you get Nintendo points, and they have this awful
goals,
habit of, if you don't use them within a year, you lose them. So that was the game I bought. So yeah, Streets of Rage 4, incredible game.
I don't want to play Jump Force, but I can't wait for you to review it. That's it.
You want me to review it?
I can't, mate, please. I beg.
Oh, Jesus.
I beg you to review it.
Oh, nobody wants that, mate. We'll play.
Everyone wants it.
We'll get drunk and play it around mine. That'd be fun.
That'd be really fun. But I want you to play the campaign. I want you to see the cutscenes. I've seen a lot of Jump Force. Like, the entire game.
Listeners,
it's bad.
So if this is anything to go by, maybe steer clear of Jump Force. From what Spencer's telling me, it sounds like it's going to be a bad trip.
I mean, it's one of those games where it's so bad that it's laughably good.
Oh, like Resident Evil 6.
Resident Evil. Drink!
Oh, shit.
Go on, Phil. You were right on the buzzer. Oh my god, they're so quick. So quick. Fun. He's so aware because he almost did it.
Well, what I was going to say next, I was going to hint at Resident Evil, but I wasn't going to say the words. I was going to say, well, on Davey's channel, you can only have games on there that has Chris, Ada, or Leon, and try and lead him into it. But then he said it himself, so it don't matter.
Look at him. He's got his Jaeger in hand. That's jokes. That's really
Lego.
Funny. Oh, I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't stomach it. That'd be minging right now.
I really don't want to drink any of it.
He's holding it up to the webcam. It's down his throat. He's done it. Looking for the recoil in his face. There's the recoil.
Good lad.
He hates
it. So the button is now armed.
Can't believe I broke it that quick. I can't believe I broke it that quick. I can't believe it.
I can't believe how quick Phil was with it.
I know.
It was so fast.
This is what happens when I'm not drinking wine after drinking 6 to 8 beers.
Do you want to get on the wine again, Phil, for me, please?
I definitely don't. I'm trying to keep
trying
to keep this one steady tonight.
My issue last week was Davey pushed a button, and I literally then said the button's now active, and immediately said the title.
Make sure you don't do it again now.
Immediately. I know, I'm being careful. I know.
Once it's in your mind, you're going to say it.
I feel that. It's running through my head. I can feel it. I'm terrified.
Sounds like an anime intro. I can feel it in my head. That's like a wrestling intro. Actually, it's a wrestling song, I think.
Does
a Randy Orton song? They talk to me.
Yeah, that's Randy Orton. We need to get Potato Chief back on, but that is 100% Randy Orton.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
All right, hang on. I'll carry on. I can't wait for you to review Jump Force. Nioh, I have no interest in because I already own it. I do want to play it, but not through PS Now. I already own it, so that's that. Streets of Rage 4, I have it on my PC through Xbox Game Pass, which, granted, I know supporting the enemy in that, but I have it, so I'm going to play it on
Of course.
Did you complete Streets of Rage just out of interest, Spence?
I haven't. Not Streets of Rage 4. I've beaten... I don't think I played... Have I played Streets of Rage 3? I'm not sure. I've beaten 1 and 2. 100% beaten 1 and 2. I've beaten 2 so many times.
Three's the one with the kid on the skates and the big fat guy.
Oh, yeah.
That's 3.
Yeah,
that's
I think
3.
So then. If I have only one.
1 and 2, you've just got Axel and Blaze and...
Yeah. 2 is iconic, man. 2 is so iconic. 2 is so
Can't remember, but I definitely need to crack those out because if anyone's following me on my Twitter, @PhilipHoy, you would have seen that I've recently purchased a bunch of retro analog consoles, so I'll be getting those old games out. And I definitely own Streets of Rage 1, 2, and 3, so it'd be interesting to play the originals. Moving on, do you guys own any PlayStation branded clothing or trainers? Here's a question for you.
I used to have socks, but the issue was, right, hang on, this is actually a story. I'm sorry to go on a little bit. I used to work at Wilco's, right? And my uncle, for my birthday, bought me PlayStation socks because he knew I was a big fan of PlayStation, which I am.
So for our American listeners, Wilkinson's is a kind of multi-purpose kind of like superstore, isn't it? It just sells everything.
Yeah, basically. But I used to work like in the warehouse where they'd do the stock and stuff.
Hashtag Team Texas.
All right, yeah. I mean, you do you, whatever. Last place.
But third ain't last.
Well, it's not first.
You put Resident Evil.
Resident Evil.
Oh!
I didn't say
Oh, he's done it. He's done it. That counts.
That isn't it. That isn't
That
it.
is.
That
That is.
No,
I
we
did
said
that last time.
episode.
That isn't it. I stopped myself.
We said
Doesn't
last
matter.
episode. We said last episode. No, we said last episode.
We set precedent last episode. I did exactly
said-
that last episode.
We
set
said
the buzzer
if
on.
the button's halfway pushed, is it on
Yeah,
or
I
off?
guess it
And
is.
we agreed it's on.
Fine. You said Resident Evil 7 was your third place.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So
Oh, for being third place.
Yeah.
That's all his point.
That was my point.
yeah, but that's in a team of like 7 games. This is about 4 states, and you're tied.
It's not
off.
4. It's not 4. It's not. There's like 16 different states in there. There's somewhere like 1% listenership and stuff.
Yeah, but that's the point where they get irrelevant. you know?
Jesus, I'm so glad I haven't got down the entire list.
Right, I'll get my shot.
What's the can you've brought?
Oh,
out?
he's got a
he's
Jaeger bomb.
He's doing a Jaeger
I've
bomb.
What's
got
your
Kong
energy
Strong. Kong
Oh,
Strong.
it's Kong,
Kong
Strong.
Strong.
Wow, he's back with the Kong Strong.
I've got stock downstairs ready for this because I know I cannot not mention. I can say it now. Resident Evil. Just
Yeah,
absolutely
you
love
can
it.
say it. You can say it. Don't you?
Right, here we go. Bottoms up, boys.
Chin chin.
Phil's drinking his drink. It's going down lovely. He's got a nice Jaeger bomb, and it is gone.
Oh, it's just horrible, isn't it?
Oh, right, my story.
Story about Wilkinson's.
Wilco. I worked as a picker in Wilco's, and my uncle bought me socks. And basically, those socks, they were brilliant socks. They're brilliant, but they were really like smooth. And so I slipped down the stairs and smashed my back on like the little cube we have at the bottom of the stairs. And literally, my parents were downstairs, sat down there, and they were just like, "You okay?" I was just like, "Yeah." I was like, I'm okay. I couldn't walk. I couldn't stand up for maybe like 15 minutes. I just had to sit there and just acknowledge that my legs might never work again. So I was just sat there. I was just sat on the stairs. They were like, "Do you need a hand?" I was like, "No, I'm good. Give me a minute." And I was just sat there, and there was the fattest bruise on my back where I just couldn't move. And I called up Wilco where I was working, and I was just like, I can't come in. And I was like, I was a temp. I was like, through an agency, I was just a temp. And they were just like, "Oh, okay, well, let us know when you can come in." And it'd been like 2 weeks, and I still couldn't even move properly. I couldn't bend over or anything, so I could not do my job. And they were just like, "You coming in today?" I was like, "No." They're like, "Oh, we take it as you quit then." And I was just like, "No, I'd like my job. I just can't. I'm disabled. I can't come in." And they were just like, "Well, it's been too long. We have to put it in as you've left." And I was just like, "I mean, sure, all right." But that's what happened the last time I owned PlayStation licensed apparel.
So are you saying that PlayStation apparel are cursed?
I'm saying they lost me their job. I mean, as much as I love PlayStation and such, that was one of the best jobs I've ever had.
I mean, it seems like direct correlation to me. In terms of PlayStation merch, I don't have an awful lot. A lot of the actual like gaming merch I own is through Insert Coin, so that's most of my stuff. And Spencer's obviously got his platinum glass, his trophy glass that he's drinking out of right now. But go on, Phil. What have you got to tell us about PlayStation apparel?
Well, you're going to be excited for this because I know you're both big fans of the NBA.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah. LeBron James,
Can you name another basketball star?
Kobe Bryant.
I've got one for you. Paul George, the 7th time NBA All-Star, has teamed up with PlayStation. And they've created some trainers, boys. The PG5 PlayStation 5 colorway. Nike and PlayStation designers, including the artist behind the PlayStation 5's console design, have worked together on a pair of trainers. And I've seen the images. They're sick. Coming out through the Nike Sneakers app May 14th.
Ooh, nice. So 1 week from the date of this recording. So that is a Friday release. And I will be on there because those trainers do look awesome.
They do look stunning.
So do you reckon it's worth everyone keeping an eye on the Nike app then when we get to next week?
Even if you can't get the PlayStation trainers on the Nike Sneakers app, I would 100% recommend this app anyway. I buy a ton of trainers from this Sneakers app because this is where you get the limited edition drops. So check it out, listeners, if you're into your trainers.
The last part of quick news. There is a lawsuit that's happening right now, and PlayStation is being taken to task by the consumers. Well, that's how the lawsuit's laid out anyway. Basically, the lawsuit involves the fact that PlayStation are selling their games exclusively on their own platform, and they're not available to buy elsewhere, which means that prices are raised more than they should be for digital content. And that's the whole point of the lawsuit, really. That's it. Just the fact that people are complaining about they can buy Returnal cheaper offline than they can buying it online. Have you got any thoughts on that at all, Phil? Because I personally do not see what the issue is with having a monopoly on a storefront when you own that platform.
But hasn't it always been that way? Hasn't it always been that, like, sort of physical will come out at that, recommended retail price and then drop to try and boost sales? But when it comes to online, they always kind of stay the same for a lot longer.
Yeah, they do. And I suppose the difference would be back in like 2009, Sony used to sell their codes. You could buy the digital codes for their products in a store. So you'd go to a game and you could buy a digital code for X game from the Sony store through like a retailer. And they stopped that then. And they said, no, the only thing you can buy now is PlayStation Store credit. But this is the thing. Like, if I need to buy something and I'm going to buy digital, when I bought Final Fantasy VII Remake, I couldn't find it anywhere physical. It was totally sold out, so I had to buy digital. And so what I did to get around the price of it being digital, because it was so expensive, was I went on to cdkeys.com and I bought £50 worth of store credit. And that £50 worth of store credit was £42. So I saved myself £8, and I used that as my discount.
Did you go through Quidco and Top Cashback? Because, of course, you would get a further reduction in that. So there are ways to get cheaper digital content, isn't there? That's what I'm trying to point out here. But when it comes to like a store, there's always options to get reductions in kind of physical content here.
Yeah.
Say you're a member of, Game, or you have their card. You can collect points, can't you? And then get things at a cheaper rate.
Exactly. And that's why I don't think this lawsuit holds any water. I mean, if for some reason it manages to actually become something and it becomes a ruling, then this is going to change the gaming landscape for all stores. This will affect everyone. This will affect Apple, it will affect Epic, it will affect Steam, it will affect literally everyone. So it'll be a big deal, but I can't see it happening. But we'll have to keep an eye on it.
Well, that brings us on to our first topic, the state of play. Happened on April 29th, where Sony gave us an update. They featured 3 games. Well, they featured 1 game, and then we had a couple of seconds of 2 other games. We had Subnautica, Below Zero, published by Unknown Worlds Entertainment. This is an open-world survival action adventure game. I've never heard of this title before, but I did look it up. Its predecessor, which is just called Subnautica, had 87% Metascore. So actually, it's a well-received game. Have you guys got any experience in this one?
I haven't played Subnautica myself, but Subnautica is huge on Twitch. A lot of streamers have played it and have done like long runs of it. And it's brilliant to watch. I'm sure it's brilliant to play. Obviously, I've not played it. But it does seem like a really fun game for the people that are interested in those kind of survival-esque games.
It was on PS Now for a little while. It's come off the service now, but it was on there. And it's one of those games that was kind of scratching the same itch as Stranded Deep was. But it's just I got to Stranded Deep first, and then that kind of killed my vibe. So I probably would have got to this game before if Stranded Deep had actually been decent. But it is what it is.
For a PS5 game, during the state of play, and this was the game they opened with, the graphics look terrible. Considering what we've had recently with Returnal and, games that we can't mention, the graphics are on, a 10 or an 11. When we're looking at this game, it was below par, guys.
Yeah, I mean, Subnautica, the original, the predecessor, was very much kind of like an indie game until it blew up. And now this game's trying to be more than that, but at the same time, it's by a studio that hasn't done a lot. So you can't expect it to be brilliant. And I think if you look at this game, Below Zero, compared to the predecessor, this game looks way better, leagues better.
It doesn't feel like a PS5 game. It doesn't feel like something that
No, it doesn't.
should be in a state of play for me.
No, I completely agree with you, but obviously they did mention the fact that they would use adaptive triggers, haptics, and the DualSense and PS5 features, but looks-wise, graphically speaking, it doesn't look like a PS5 game, but I get what you
PS3.
mean.
Just for full transparency of our audience, I haven't actually seen the state of play. I knew it was all about Ratchet, and I'm so sold on Ratchet that...
Well, don't give it away. No spoilers.
So with me not seeing it, did they announce like a release date or release window or anything like that at all with this?
Oh, yeah, it comes out like next week.
Oh, really? Oh, wow, okay.
I think so. I'm pretty sure it's like May 14th-ish. You can look it up quickly.
I'm clicking the link. It says May 14th. You are correct. Discover what lies beneath planet 4546b on May 14th.
Any price?
Price $29.99 USD.
Okay,
Yeah.
not bad. Discounted game. Okay, maybe something to keep an eye on then.
Moving on, we also had the announcement of Among Us. It's coming to PS4 and PS5 later in the year. So this game came out on PC in June 15th, 2018. Even Nintendo released this game last year. PlayStation are well late to the party, boys. Along with Xbox, because they've only just announced it as well. But what you do get, you get a Ratchet and Clank skin. How do you feel about that?
I love Among Us. I actually love Among Us. I've played it a fair bit. I've seen so many videos of it. I actually love the game. I do have a lot of issues with it, but not to do with the game itself. I hate the fact, as you said, it came out in 2018. It won Game of the Year awards, or like it won awards in 2020 because that was the year it was recognized. It was the year it was actually played, but it's like it came out 2 years ago. Why is it winning awards now when it shouldn't?
It's a good point.
I guess that's when people are playing it, of course, on Twitch, aren't they? That's the big time for them, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, that's when it blew up. Yeah, but like, it's even then you should recognize the game came out a while ago. If suddenly World of Warcraft blows up on Twitch again, it shouldn't start getting awards again. It's been out for
Unless
so long.
it's an expansion, of course.
Sure, but then you give the expansion awards. But if they did like vanilla, they can't.
My question for you guys really is: do you still play this game?
No,
You know,
Nah.
do you still play Fall Guys?
no.
Like,
no.
These are
God,
games
no.
that like have captured like a time and space which everyone raved about, and that's all people were talking about because that was the now game to play. Among Us has been and gone.
Yeah.
PlayStation and Xbox, they're way late to the party, in my opinion. Here,
See, I feel like that too, but then on the other side of it, all I see on Twitter is people posting like images like, "Oh, this is sus," and all this, right? And you're like, "Oh,
Oh,
it's so
fuck
old."
off.
It's like so old. You're like, "Oh God, I don't want to see it." Like it hurts my retinas. But it is what it is. Like kids love this stuff, man. They slurp it up, and there's something to that. It will sell. It will sell gangbusters on PlayStation. I guarantee you that.
I was gonna say on PS4, I don't think it's a big hit. I don't think it's good to be on PS4. On PS5, because I thought about this, the big selling point of Among Us is how much you trust your party or like your group of friends to play with. So you'll mute when you should mute, and then you unmute just for the emergency meetings. So on console, that's a lot harder to achieve. But then I've just realized on PS5, there's a mute button on the controller itself. So that makes the whole system way easier. So you can just mute when the game needs to be muted, and then obviously unmute when you can. But on PS4 and other consoles, you would have to go into the system menus or the quick access menus to mute, and it just makes the game a lot more taxing than it should be.
yeah, no, I totally agree. Like one of the things that like attracts me to playing Among Us on a PC is the ease in which you can like discuss things on Discord, isn't it? Right? Because you have all that optionality. With PlayStation, it's definitely limited, especially when you go back to PlayStation 4. Like, how would you play
Yeah.
Among Us on PlayStation 4 unless you've got your phone next to you texting your mate? Like, how are you going to play it?
I honestly, I don't know. On PS4, it must be hell to play. It really must be. In fact, if anyone is gonna play Among Us or a similar kind of party game we need to mute, and they're doing that on their PS4 already, write in, let us know, because it's something that
Please.
I can't relate to, and I have no interest in relating to it, if I'm completely honest with you.
It must be really boring because part of the thing that draws people to Among Us is the arguments that you would have with your friends. That's the good part of the game, isn't it? And if you remove that, then is the game really that attractive?
Well, people play it.
See-
People play it now, don't they? On their phones or whatever, in random lobbies. I just don't understand that, because,
I don't understand that.
like you say, the whole point of it is fucking over your mate, isn't it?
It
You know, your
pretty
mate
much
who's
is.
totally fine, but yeah, I get booted off on the first emergency vote every single time. But it's the way it
And
goes.
that feels great.
Yeah, it's brilliant watching everyone else while I'm a ghost. I love it. Love it. But no, I think you're right in what you guys are saying. Like, the fad's gone, and even though they did do really well at the Game Awards, and fair play to them, they're a small little team, and they've made absolute bank from this. It just goes
They've
to
made
show
peace.
the power of Twitch and social kind of gaming, how much that can play a factor in the gaming landscape as a whole. It's not for me. I couldn't give two shits about this, if I'm honest with you.
I don't give a fuck now. I feel exactly the same. And also, like I said, you said it done really well at the Game Awards. They shouldn't have. They shouldn't have even been included in the Game Awards. The game came out 2 years prior to the Game Awards, in which they actually did well at. That doesn't make sense to me. I hate that. I actually sincerely hate that.
Okay, well, last up, we have Ratchet and Clank Rifts Apart. And to be honest, this was the majority of the state of play. And we've seen some new mechanics. We can wall run and dash. These are new. Like, for me, I've played a lot of the Ratchet and Clank sort of backlog, and I've not seen these mechanics in games before. They introduced a new female Lombax character with the metal arm called Rivet. And switching between ultimate dimensions, they push us near instant load times. This game's available June 11th, and I've pre-ordered it. I know, Spence, you're a big fan of the series.
I used to be a big fan when I was a kid. I loved the Ratchet games. But when I played 2016, I was bored throughout the majority of my time playing it. I just didn't enjoy it. But I do plan on going back to it before Rift Apart, because especially we have a PS5 patch where it's 60 FPS. I look forward to playing that again, and I hope to platinum it before Rift Apart. And watching the state of play, because I did watch it. I'm not like Davey, I look into shit before the podcast.
Ouch!
You know what I'm saying?
I know. What the hell is this burn all about? It's just one game I didn't want to look at.
Well,
He's throwing fists tonight, isn't he?
Jesus.
Grow up, innit? But this state of play, I wasn't looking forward to Ratchet Rift Apart. I honestly wasn't. I thought it's a slog, but I want all the PS5 exclusives, because I do plan on getting all of them. After this state of play, I'm really looking forward to Rift Apart. And the reason is the combat, weird enough as it is to say, I said this to you in DMs, Phil, it reminds me of Returnal. And I know that sounds weird to say, but the way the dodge mechanic works, and looking at how the enemies attack, and looking at how you attack them, it just reminded me of Returnal. I'm not sure why. I think it's just the dodge mechanic seemed so similar, although it's a different animation, seemed very similar. The enemy they showed that just shot a solid beam just looked like an attack from Returnal. To me, it just seemed kind of the same kind of thing. But obviously, combat does work differently, but...
Well, the only thing that I have seen, and it was on Twitter, and I just couldn't stop myself from looking at it, was the trailer they showed, which is where they revealed Rivet's name, and they showed kind of like some of the key locations and stuff. Now, I've been sold on this game since day one. I'm not a massive Ratchet fan like Phil is. I got into the series with Quest for Booty when it became a free game on PlayStation Network after the PlayStation Network outage in 2011. And it was one of the free games that I got. And that was my first Ratchet experience. Somehow I missed it on PS2. I don't know how. And I loved it. I really enjoyed it. Really loved my time. But never touched the series again until 2016. Platinum Ratchet and Clank and absolutely adored it. I thought it was amazing. Amazing experience. Now, the only thing that comes to mind on this is two things, right? First off, Sony got the best deal of all time with Insomniac. When that studio was purchased and the amount came up and it was like 230 million, I was gobsmacked at that amount. I thought, oh my God, that's huge, right? It was like the biggest studio purchase like ever at that point. Well, it wasn't, but it was a massive deal for Sony anyway. And I thought, Jesus Christ, I don't think they're worth that much. Like, I love Resistance, but come on. Christ. They've just blown it out of the park now. Like with Spider-Man and now this already in this early into the PlayStation life. Christ, what are we going to get by the end of it? That's what I'm thinking. And for it to look as good as it does, where it is a Pixar movie. Just looks exceptional. It just blows my mind. It just blows my mind how good this looks.
But it's not just a Pixar movie. It's next gen, isn't it?
It really is.
Have you seen any of the
It really
visuals
is.
where they're switching between dimensions and he's kind of got that kind of attack where he can like drag himself through? It
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
The big thing about that as well is, especially that state of play we watched, that was only uploaded in 1080p, and that looked amazing. We're going to be experiencing that in 4K. That's going to be fucking stunning. Absolute feast for the eyes. I can't wait to just look at the game. Just look at it. I don't even need to play it. I just want to look.
So we obviously know that Spence is sold on the game now. You and me, Phil, were already sold on it.
Already pre-ordered.
The most important question of all: would you fuck Rivet? What are you saying, Spence? Because the internet's been torn on this issue, so I think it's pretty big.
Have they?
Yeah.
Oh, of course they have. It's the internet.
Course
What's
they
the
have.
comparison? Who are we saying? That, like, who's the opposite choice?
Well, people are saying, well, you wouldn't want to because it makes you a furry. And then people are saying, does it make you a furry? Does Lola Bunny make you a furry?
No, that's what I was going to say.
And then it
That's
opens up
exactly.
the doorway. Then I've seen all this argument break out, and they're like, well, you wouldn't want to fuck Clank, would you? Because you got no what you got. He's just a robot, right? He's just gonna be freezing.
He's 1/12 of Lady Dimitrescu.
Yeah,
ain't
he is. He is.
Mate,
So-
this is just a reflection on the people you follow on Twitter.
Maybe, but I think our audience would want to know this too. So, what we saying, lads? Is it off limits to go for Rivet, or are we saying it's fair game?
All I'm thinking is just how old is she?
How old is she? I mean, it depends
Yeah.
on how many years are in Lombax years, isn't it? If she's 3,
Yeah,
but
no,
Lombax
I mean-
years are like 20 human years, then you're totally golden, aren't you? In fact, she's probably a little too old then at that point.
Not he's drinking famous grouse.
Yeah, true. Good target market.
Yeah, but with Pepsi Max Cherry, mate, I'm bringing it down. The thing is, Ratchet's got to be like 30 at this point. When did the first Ratchet? Not even 30. When did the first Ratchet game come out? Like 2002, 2001.
Well, 2016 was the remake, wasn't it? So of the first adventure.
Oh yeah, that changes it.
And,
doesn't it?
and
Oh,
he's
young
much
then,
taller
mate.
than you think he is.
It's 5 foot.
Clank. That's Clank.
It's 5 foot, Ratchet. So she's 5 foot. So that's plenty good. That's fine.
It all depends how it plays out in the game, really. Because we don't know Ratchet's sexual orientation, do we?
I mean, he's quite interested in Clank.
I wouldn't want to do the boy dirty.
Nah, I would. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'll do it.
Spencer's going to take one for the team.
After that, bombshell. I think it's important to ask a question here that we've never really covered on the show before. Sony have obviously said they're not going to be attending E3 this year, and they're not going to be doing a lot of gaming conferences. Do you think these state of plays are working? Do you think that's enough for Sony to promote the brand and to have a kind of big send-off? Or would you prefer them to do shows like Gamescom and Tokyo Game Show, E3, those kind of things?
I love seeing Sony at trade shows. You know, going back, they'd be at the Gadget Show, they'd be at Eurogamer and all those different things. But now, because of COVID and we can't get to those trade shows, state of plays are perfect for me. I'm happy it just fills in those gaps. But going forward, once we're going out of lockdown, I want to see them there. I want to go and experience those games live. But I still want them to keep up those state of plays because this is what I'm used to now.
But I suppose the thing about it is, like, with shows like the Gadget Show, you know, all those different in-person events, right? Like, they'll still be there in terms of, like, on the show floor, but they wouldn't be at, like say for Gamescom, right? The biggest event for us Europeans and the biggest gaming event across the world in terms of people that go there. Gamescom's the biggest by far in terms of the public. Yeah, biggest event by far.
Is that the one in Germany?
Yeah, it's massive,
Yeah,
mate. Way bigger than like the show floor for the public at E3 or for Tokyo Game Show or any of these. Gamescom outstrips them by a country mile, right?
Why aren't we going to Game Show?
I know, I'm thinking this myself.
Ah.
Gamescom this year is online only as well, so there's not an in-person one this year. But Sony would be there on the show floor, so you'd be able to play, you know, like the newest Killzone or whatever it is, right? But you wouldn't be able to, they wouldn't have a conference. They wouldn't have a conference there. And that's kind of their stance that they're going on at the moment. So that's more my question. Do you think they need to have these press conferences going forward, or do you think State of Play gets the message out there enough alongside like kind of normal press releases?
I like the state of plays, and I think the state of plays are very useful because it means when they want to give information, they can. They have no time limit. They don't have to wait until the next conference. They can just do it whenever they like, and that's really nice. But E3, Gamescom, Tokyo Game Show, you expect news and you can't wait. You wait for that event. Whereas with State of Plays, it's usually they tell you, oh, State of Play is happening tomorrow, by the way. And you have a day to be excited. Whereas E3, you're excited all year because you know something big's going to drop. So that's the difference. And I would love for them to be a part of E3. I'd like the State of Plays to remain for the minor news. But then E3 being that big hitter is just always so satisfying. And it's always so good to watch.
You say the minor news. Do you think Subnautica and Among Us, are that kind of minor news that you'd want in State of Play? If it was just that, would you watch it? I definitely wouldn't. Without Ratchet, this is useless to me.
Yeah, but Among Us was 12 seconds. They didn't need to even say anything. They could have just tweeted about it. They literally did that because they had no news and just wanted to fill in a Ratchet and Clank State of Play. That's all that was for.
And the skin, wasn't it?
State of Plays could fully just to be inform you more about the games they've already announced. And that's what State of Plays probably should be. Similar to the Resident Evil showcases we've had.
Hit the button, baby.
Hit
the button.
Button!
Resident Evil.
Damn it.
It's so easy, isn't it? So easy.
Yeah, but it was such a good point,
It was
wasn't
a
it?
good point.
Oh, all right, I'll be back now. Damn
That's
it,
a great
man.
point. You should make it again in 5 minutes.
So Spencer has gone to go get his shot so he can fulfill the Resident Evil button. So while we wait for him, we've brought on Georgia to come on.
Welcome to the show.
Hello, Georgia.
What's up,
How you
man?
doing? You all right?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. So Spencer's addiction to the Resident Evil button, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got to have a word about it, okay? Because, me and Phil have already pushed it once tonight. So Spencer's kind of fulfilling the prophecy here. But I need you to somehow get him to push it more as the show goes on. If that can happen.
We want some subliminal messaging. So if you could wear a
Okay.
Resident Evil t-shirt or just play it in the background or something and just go, Spence, how'd you do this in Resident Evil?
Yeah.
And it'll just bring him in a little bit.
Or be
wouldn't it?
like,
Alright.
Spence, what's that game we were gonna play? Can you tell me what that new release on PlayStation was?
Mila Djokovic is in the movie.
Yeah.
Called.
Anything like that. If you could do anything like that, Georgia, that would be really helpful.
Just absolutely stitch him up for us, okay?
I got you. It's fine.
Thank you very
Awesome.
much.
All right, I don't have a shot glass. I'm just going to have to swig it.
You know the rules? 2 fingers, 2 fingers.
2 fingers. Get it down, you.
2 fingers of a bottle.
Yeah, 2
Yeah.
fingers, yeah.
It's a bit more than a shot, in it?
Well, sucks to having big fingers.
It sucks not having a shot glass. We're 16 episodes into this podcast.
Fam, I'm doing the lid.
2 lids.
Yeah, 2 lids, I reckon.
Swish it round.
Oh, I love Fireball, but at the same time, doing a shot is still minging, isn't it?
Yeah, not good. Good job, though. So the button is now rearmed.
Right, can I say, though, it was still a good point. I'm not going to say it again.
Okay. So
Say
funny
it
if you did.
straight after that.
Yeah, it'd be class. It'd be so funny if I did. I completely agree.
I love it.
So that game's similar to that game showcases. That's what we should get from State of Plays.
So your point overall is that the showcases should be there to kind of go alongside the bigger kind of press conferences. You have the bigger kind of press conferences where they announce new stuff, and then for the stuff that's already been announced, you then supplement that with extra details for that stuff that's already been announced, right?
It's very similar to if you know about the Nintendo Directs. They do a Nintendo Direct, then they have a Nintendo Treehouse, which is what State of Plays should be. The Treehouse is where they go into the games that were just announced on Nintendo Direct, and they show you what the games basically are.
But they do that like months later, kind of close to the launch.
No, they do it immediately after.
Oh, fuck that. I wouldn't want that.
But I'm not saying do it immediately. I'm saying, because obviously PlayStation's a lot different, I'm saying it should be that same kind of thing, but do it when they have the more information to give.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah, okay. I get that. Okay, I'm well
But
on
it
board
should,
for that.
Makes
State of
sense.
Plays should really only be about existing games.
I completely
And
agree
then
with you,
E3
100%.
and conference should be about new IPs for PlayStation or remakes or anything new.
I want to go back to what you said, actually, because you said in there, and I completely agree with this, I 100% agree with you, is you said about how, like, with E3 and stuff, it's something you look forward to for, like, big
All
events.
year.
Like, I used to take days off for E3. I used to take a Friday and a Monday off over E3 weekend, and that would be it. I'd literally just have a crate of beer, just sit there, drink beer, eat popcorn, eat nachos, whatever it is, and just enjoy the conferences. And being in the UK, as we are, the conferences, the best ones like PlayStation, even Xbox, and I'd watched Devolver, they'd be late at night. So it was you couldn't do that and go to work the next day. So you'd have to take a day off for it. And I loved doing it. It was like an event for me.
Devolver's conferences.
Amazing.
So class.
They're incredible.
So good.
And I really hope that Sony go back to doing that, because sure, their last one they did wasn't great, where they showed just 4 games and that was it. But the years before that were sensational. Christ, you just walk away from that and you just think, yeah, they killed it. They killed it. And it just sets up the entire flow for the rest of the year in terms of how hyped that brand is. Those kind of Super Bowl moments, like with the Super Bowl trailers, that kind of level is so important to the industry, I feel. And I think it's a real shame. And it's something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to go to one of those press conference screenings and be in that audience. I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
Have you got anything to say on this, Phil? You said like briefly about like state of plays, what you feel about it, but I didn't know like your overall kind of thoughts.
The thing I was going to nip in with was, if Xbox are going to E3, you can't not have PlayStation there, can you? It's a missed opportunity. You know, it's a global audience.
They didn't last time in 2019.
That's what I'm saying. It's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, but Xbox don't do like similar things to the state of plays on Nintendo Directs. That's the difference, I think. PlayStation is so focused on their own state of plays, even though the last maybe 2, I can't remember how good the one prior was, but the last one was shit.
Like, I get it. Like, the state of play, it's a PlayStation audience, right? But there's gonna be people that are sitting on the fence at E3, and they're like, am I going to go this way? Am I going to go that way? And if you're not there, you've lost that custom.
Yeah.
I think you need some sort of representation at these bigger shows. If it's not like a full-blown show, there needs to be some announcements for people to get hype about. And yes, I like the state of plays. They need to happen. But I definitely agree with you on the sense that it shouldn't be like new games. It should be add-ons and things like that. Like updates to games. Yes.
Yeah.
And then save E3 for the big bang of here's our new game, here's our new IP.
Yeah.
Audience, if you've got anything you want to add on to this, are you finding the state of plays beneficial? Would you prefer them to have a mixture of state of plays alongside press conferences, or are you just quite happy just sticking as it is right now, this moment? Write into the email. Let us know your thoughts on it.
So, boys, for my topic, we're basically going to be talking about Sony partnering up with Discord. So, Discord, as we know, boasts over 140 million monthly users, and Sony Interactive Entertainment made a minority investment in Discord, similar to its arrangement with Fortnite developer Epic Games. What do you boys think?
I think this is brilliant news. I really do. It's phenomenal. So as far as I know, the deal is going to impact PlayStation next year, isn't it? 2022?
They say 2022, yeah, but it depends how long it's going to take them to intertwine the two.
Yeah, I suppose so. But I think that's brilliant. Like, we use it all the time when we play Smash. We use Discords. We use Discord when we're doing this podcast. PlayStation Network is great, and I love Party Chat. But Discord integration would be exactly what we were talking about in the last episode. We're saying it would just push it to give you those extra layers that you just don't have at the moment.
Do we know if there's going to be any crossover with the existing Discord kind of setup? Do you think you'll be able to talk from PlayStation to PC, or is it just going to be locked down to just PlayStation on Discord, if you like?
I think if it's locked down to just Discord on PlayStation, that's a waste of a partnership. I'm hoping it will be completely crossplay, similar to how games are going nowadays. It just makes sense for it to be crossplay among PC, PlayStation, and Xbox, because we know this is a partnership, but they're not really like buying Discord. It's not owned by Sony or anything, so that doesn't exclude Discord from being on any other platform.
If, you know, it's cross like platform Discord, then it definitely feeds into that idea that games are being more kind of like, you can play any game on any platform and you can interact with every other platform. So you'll have a lot of PC and PlayStation titles interacting with each other because they can use Discord across both. That'd be incredible. I
mean, you think about things like Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite, or any of these games like Rocket League, whatever it is, right? This crossplay. Say, for example, like Mortal Kombat. We were playing Mortal Kombat and there's people on PC and Xbox and whatever. We were all playing together on a cross-gen server. It's a way for us all to be able to talk together, isn't it? Instead of being like, well, how the hell are we going to do this? And we've already countered this issue already with the PlayStation 5, but headsets aren't readily supported by it yet. So, like with my Astros, they plug into the PlayStation, and that's it. Like, if someone wants to talk to me on Discord, I've got a choice then of I either don't have the audio experience that I want, or I have my friends talking to me in my ear. I don't have both. So if I can kind of get around that and have that integrated into it, that's a massive win for me. Massive win. What I do find quite interesting you're saying about crossplay is that with the epic lawsuit that's happening at the moment with Apple, it's come out about Sony's kind of reluctance to hit the button on cross-gen. And their reluctance all came about the fact that they're the dominant platform on the market by a massive majority, right? Making way more than Nintendo and Xbox even combined. And so they didn't want people spending money on different platforms and playing it through PlayStation with the PlayStation audience, which is obviously a captive audience as it is without crossplay. So it's quite interesting that they're talking about this Discord integration now and kind of changing their stance on crossplay and how platforms work together by making their investments into Epic and then now into Discord. Is it kind of different PlayStation than it was back in the PlayStation 4 generation when they were so against crossplay?
It doesn't feel like it links up, does it? From what you're saying, if they're so resistant to kind of the cross-play across platforms, and now they're bringing in Discord, which would allow cross-platform chat.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's just it's a case that people on Twitter, and obviously Twitter's such a little fucking echo chamber, it's actually ridiculous. But people on Twitter are always talking about how bad Jim Ryan is for the business and how Jim Ryan being the head of PlayStation has meant so many like bad things with PlayStation. And everyone's kind of walking that back now that we got Returnal out. Everyone's kind of walking that a little bit back. They say, oh, maybe it's not so bad, you know? And with the Sony financials that have come out and it's been, you know, through the roof, successful, and saying they're going to double the amount of money that goes into exclusive partnerships and everything else. Everyone's like, oh, actually, maybe Jim Ryan ain't so bad. But this is the kind of thing that I think a different stance of leadership on it has now thought, do you know what? Actually, if we can open the kind of borders a little bit, people are just preferring to play on our platform anyway. So why not make it more inclusive and kind of get the wins there? And people will naturally navigate to us because the games are here rather than our competitors. And I think that's a really smart move from Jim Ryan and the leadership at Sony. I don't know if you guys have got any thoughts on that at all.
I mean, I completely agree. You're just completely right. I think it's very interesting that this whole Discord integration thing is happening right now, especially after Discord has just been in talks with Microsoft about Microsoft acquiring Discord. And now they've been in chats with PlayStation, and it's not an acquisition. They've just said, let's partner up, you stay independent, which it seems as if that's what Discord wants. They want to stay an independent party. They don't want to be tied down to any one platform. And that's what Discord should be, because it's such a capable platform as is. It needs to have its own system. So I think it's very interesting that PlayStation now are just like, you do what you want, just help us.
The thing is, if Discord just sold out to PlayStation, do you think it would be the preferred platform for PC? I don't think so. I think if they signed that deal, PC people would move off to whoever takes over from that and is that offering, be that Ventrilo, be that TeamSpeak, be those boys come back and offer, like a voice over IP kind of service, which is superior to Discord,
Well, I think it's safe to say that if Sony did buy it, it would be locked down to their platform, wouldn't it? Like, this is Sony now. This isn't Microsoft. They wouldn't take half steps. They'd lock it down. They would do. So I think it's for the benefit of gaming as a whole that Discord remains either independent or if they signed with Microsoft. 'Cause I don't think even that would make a difference to Sony. They'd probably still manage to integrate it somehow. Actually, they probably wouldn't, just to spite Microsoft. So yeah, the more independent they could stay, the better, to be fair.
I think if they signed to Microsoft, though, Microsoft would still want it available across all the PC platforms. So they'd probably be more open to the...
Sony would say no, though.
Sony would,
just because it's Microsoft. They would.
Sony would say no. Sony would say, we don't want anything to do with you.
Yeah.
But that's why this is smart. Because it's not an acquisition, it's a partnership.
Yeah.
So as much as we will have Discord on PlayStation in the future, that doesn't limit to what it can do, because Discord does not want to be limited, and it shouldn't be, because it's such a brilliant platform. It's brilliant.
And I suppose this is why it's probably worth me asking you guys, and this is probably going to seem like a really obvious thing to you boys, but I don't obviously play on PC. I don't use Discord as often as you guys do. So what kind of features do you think Discord will be able to bring to the party that we can't get with PlayStation Chat at the minute?
Where'd you start?
Yeah, where'd you start? Higher quality party chat, for one, just because the audio rate is higher on Discord than it is on PlayStation. It is. Screen sharing and search will probably be higher rate as well. Granted, we do have quite good screen sharing at the moment, but it's just the intricacies, just how in-depth Discord is. And I've used TeamSpeak, I've used Ventrilo, I've used Skype, I've used everything on PC that's ever existed, and Discord has always just been the best, just because of how user-friendly and how capable of a platform it is.
But do you feel like, as we're saying, it's a partnership with PlayStation? Do you think Discord are going to give PlayStation everything, or are they just going to give them a limited experience here?
I feel they're going to give them as much as they can for a console-based experience. So obviously, webcam-wise and video chat-wise, you'll probably still need the PlayStation-specific camera, because that's all the PlayStation's going to allow you to use. I doubt I can plug this webcam in and just use Discord like I can on PC. But it will be probably the best it can be for console.
The only other thing I use Discord for is for communities and for like chatting within like a community on like on like a board, right? Do you think they'd
Sure.
like we use that for Smash and I got some for games that can't be named, stuff like that, right? And I find that really interesting. I find that really good as a way to like get a community together. Now, we know that on PlayStation 4 they had a communities tab, and that's been closed down now because that's become mute, right? No one uses that, and no one really did anyway, to be honest. Do you think this could be their way to get back into communities and like their way to be able to have those kind of like, you could have like a Returnal Discord group, right? That would be like official through Sony, you know, like stuff like that, right? Do you think they'd go down that route? Maybe you access it on your mobile app through the Sony app, something like that, rather than through the actual PlayStation UI?
I think a lot of the things that Discord offers, Sony has tried, right? And failed. But now, because it's Discord, people are more inclined to use it. A lot like the communities which we're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's a fucking brilliant point, not gonna lie. I think that is an absolutely fantastic point. The fact that they could have separate groups or separate servers, which Discord uses, for each exclusive Sony exclusive game or series, that's such a sick point. Well done, Davey. That's a fantastic point.
Thank you. I try.
They could have literally separate servers for each exclusive, because we're getting Sony exclusives. It's the best exclusives on any platform, let's be honest. Sony's fucking chef's kiss gourmet. Sony's fantastic. Give us a server for each exclusive for the community to speak. It is the perfect replacement for communities. You smashed it.
Thank you, mate.
I hate how perfect that analogy
Thanks,
is.
mate.
I hate it.
But just think, you could have this like virtual kind of world that you could enter into that would be linked to a certain game. Imagine if that was a thing on PlayStation.
Well, funny you say that. Actually, I didn't know we were going to bring this up, but you know what? PlayStation Home's rumored to be coming back. You know,
really?
There's rumors.
I was
for
taking
it,
the
mate.
mic here.
No, I know you were.
No, it is
There's
rumors.
rumored.
It
It's
is
been
rumors.
trademarked again. Yeah, there's rumors that PlayStation Home is coming back, and so you never
Mad.
know. Maybe this could all end up linking in together somehow. I mean, PlayStation Home. Jesus Christ, PlayStation Home is.
I loved it back in day, mind. I loved it. I loved it when it first came out. I was like 13, mind, but
We
I
were
loved
like
it.
20, and we were pissed up going into PlayStation Home, just asking people for like random stuff, weren't we?
It
I
would
remember
take
you, me, and
forever to
Willow.
like talk in that game because there's obviously no keyboard.
It was terrible. It was terrible. Yeah, it was really bad. But who knows? Maybe if that comes back, maybe that and Discord partnership together, Christ, you could get something really unique there. But I'm thinking like on Twitter at the moment, God of War, at the moment they're like having an anniversary celebration. And so what they're doing is they're getting people to post pictures from photo mode around specific themes every single week. And it's a good way to drive like a bit of interaction, right? You say like, oh, I want a picture with water. So people are going out swimming underneath the giant snake and like taking like really cool pictures with Kratos and stuff. And you could just have that as like a Discord server under like its own different thing, like competition of the week or whatever. And it just all seems to flow. It's just really easy to find content. It's just all there. It just makes a perfect little marriage for me if they did manage to do that. I just think it's just like the possibilities there are just awesome. Any kind of closing thoughts on this, boys, before we end this? Anyone else got anything else they want to say?
You literally banged it on the nose. They should just do exactly what you said. Make the servers categorically correct with the exclusives. And that's it. Because that's so perfect. That's what they should do to replace communities.
Moving into the final topic of this episode, there have been 2 major releases for PlayStation, and especially for us PlayStation 5 users. We've had Returnal and Resident Evil 8. Now, it goes without saying, the Resident Evil button is off for this topic. So no more shots for this topic, okay? So you're not going to sting me, guys. So I think the best way to start this is we go into Returnal, and then we cover off Resident Evil 8. Now, don't worry, listener. We will not be going through any spoilers. We will not be giving anything away like that. And none of us have completed either game so far. Now, we are recording this on Friday, the 7th of May. So me and Phil are about 4 hours odd into Resident Evil 8. Spencer's yet to start it.
I haven't played it. I'm dreading this topic.
We're not going to give too much away, but we will definitely talk about our thoughts at this stage in the game. Probably about a third of the way through, I imagine. But let's start off with Returnal. So, Phil, what are your thoughts this far into Returnal? Because you and me are around about the same point into Returnal.
Yeah, so I got Returnal Friday 30th of April. Pre-ordered it on Shop2. And I've only played, as you said, like 4 hours of the game. And I think we've probably got to the same point in the game. So I've only actually played the first level, if we're calling them levels, up to the first boss.
Biomes.
What I can say about this game, it is a technical showcase for the PlayStation 5.
Jeez, yeah, it is.
I've been doing a bit of background reading, and it takes full advantage of what's known as the Tempest engine that Returnal is built on, with full support of the advanced haptic feedback, the 3D audio, and real-time ray tracing effects. The game's beautiful, with a wide variety of enemies, visual effects, and gameplay scenes. It uses the PlayStation 5's custom solid state to reduce all those important loading times, and the experience is crazy. I'm really enjoying the game, but it's hard, isn't it, guys? It's a very hard game.
It has been kicking my fucking ass. It has been literally beating me down and leaving me to the point where as soon as that crash landing starts again, I'm just literally sitting there going, fuck, like the entire time. I'm just like, oh, Jesus Christ. But I love it. I absolutely adore that feeling where you just know that I can do better. I'm better than this, right? It just brings out that kind of competitive edge on me where I'm like, nah, I'm not going out like that. I'm going to take this guy down. Nothing is stopping me. And I love it for that. I absolutely love it for that.
Yeah, as I was saying, the game is difficult and it has been crushing me. Like, I'll load into the first section of the game and die, and it hurts, doesn't it? You know, you get a little bit into it, you get a couple of upgrades, you find your gun. It's a difficult game. But it reminds me a lot of games of past, where you would just get crushed. You would hit that wall over and over again until you can overcome whatever obstacle is in your way.
Yeah, it reminds me very much, and now I know it's not a roguelite, but it reminds me so much of like Dark Souls, where you get to a boss and you get pasted by it. But this is different, that you've got to go through it all and regain it all again. And so that kind of variety that you get playing it through and seeing like different enemies or different mixtures of enemies in different areas, it just makes it engaging every single time. Whereas on Dark Souls, you've got the same enemies every single time you respawn in, so you end up just running through it and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, here we go again. And you just end up sprinting past every single enemy and you kind of work your perfect path to get to the boss. Whereas on this, it's more of a case of, I know these enemies, but this is a different layout, it's a different challenge, the area is slightly different. And so every single run feels completely unique to what it was before. And that's what I'm really enjoying about it, even though I hate myself for losing, because I know I can do better than it.
It feels fresh each time, doesn't it? So each time you go through that first door, you know there's something different coming at you. So it does feel like it's a progression in the same game you're playing. You're not just going over the same things over and over again. There's a couple of things that do pop up, and you see the house. The boss, the way to the boss is exactly the same each time. But those elements, when you see them, you're like, right, I've got to concentrate now. This is the part where I need to put in some work.
Put my big boy pants on. It's time to go hard, right? It's time to just sit forward in the chair, legs down, sit forward, and just concentrate. Wife comes in, you're like, shut up. Not now. Not now. Not now. Wait.
Turn the phone off.
Yeah, everything's off. Like,
Switch
you just
the laptop off. I just want to concentrate on this.
Can I ask, what are your favourite weapons so far?
Shotgun.
What's your favourite? Really?
Love the shotgun.
The Hallow
Love
Seeker.
the shotton, yeah.
Oh, I hate that gun.
I hate the shotgun.
Really?
Hallow Seeker.
Wow.
Yeah, it's that. Yeah, I hate that gun.
Me.
What's yours, Davey?
Machine gun. Hands down.
Which one?
I've only got what option for one so far.
The Tacumatic Carbine.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
That, and I've had that so far on a +5, and that's been my boy so far, and that got me the closest so far to victory. Now I found a +6 shotgun, and I was like, and it had a plus damage boost and everything. I fucking hate that gun. I like being able to spray and run, right? I love the combination of just being able to run and spray, but I do find my second favorite upgrade. I love the pistol, man. Pistol's busted with the homing rockets on it. So good.
Even if you find another pistol after you've got a machine gun, it could be so much better. You'll never pick it up.
No, I never will. As soon as I got a machine gun, that's it. Like, I'm only swapping it for a higher level machine gun.
Yeah. I've found every single time you go towards a boss or the next boss, there will always be a pistol right before the boss.
Before you jump down.
Yeah, before you jump down. If you notice the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
thing,
there's
it's
always a pistol
always
there.
a pistol.
Yeah.
And I never pick it up.
No, I never have. It's been
I've never
three
once
levels
picked it up.
different, and I still went in with the machine gun. It's probably why I'm losing, to be fair.
It's not. I'll tell you now, it's not.
So one of the things that, people have been complaining about with this game is that there's no option to sort of save your progression. It is crushing that you get so far in the game, it just knocks you back to the start. Housemarque actually tweeted out a link to their Reddit thread about the lack of save options, adding that there's nothing to announce, but keep playing and enjoying the challenge while you can. So possibly, in the future, there might be some sort of save option, but for now, let's play the game as it was intended. We don't need to dumb down the difficulty here.
Yeah, how do you feel about that? Do you think that's a good thing that they're not including this, or do you think that maybe they could have benefited from it?
I think initially, let's play the game as the developer intended, and then later on, give that option. If people are just getting crushed, let's give them that option.
I suppose it kind of all depends on how good your run is, I guess, right? Like, whereas you and me were probably having like an hour runs, right? And then dying on the boss and then restarting again another hour, and you're like, okay, that's fine. But if you're on a spree, right? And you literally just did like 4 bosses in one go, and that's like an entire day's worth, and you think, fuck, I gotta get off, right? I got work tomorrow. I have to get off. I've got to put it into rest mode and then hope that the game doesn't update tomorrow. Then I can see the difficulty there, right? That people then will leave it. They come back next day and they'll be like, game's updated, I've lost everything. I've lost my run.
That's actually, granted, obviously the only way to save your state in Returnal right now is to put it in rest mode. Granted, the last update for PlayStation was that you could download pre-patches prior to their launch, and you could have it updated during rest mode. You can turn that setting off, and you need to for Returnal. If Returnal is the game you're playing at the moment, you actually need to turn that setting off, otherwise it will close your current run. And it sucks that it's the same time as that update for PlayStation software has been released, but turn that setting off if you're playing Returnal. You just have to.
Like one of our previous conversations where I said Mario was a roguelike, this reminds me a lot of when I used to leave my console on, or my Nintendo, my Super Nintendo, overnight, just so I could pick it up the next day. Returnal's getting to that type of state.
Yeah. you boys are new in the game. You should have encountered this. I don't know if I want to say it.
Go on.
It's not spoilers, but have you come across the reconstruction machine?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I don't want to spend the 6 ether on it when it runs only an hour long.
It's 6 ether. But what that does, that means when you die, you respawn at that reconstructor.
Yeah, so you can just run straight on to take the boss on again, right?
Yeah. So that is kind of the segue between a save point in this game. Granted, it has to be during this. You can't close the game, obviously. But if you die, you can save technically at that reconstruction, and that only lasts once. You can only do it one time.
So in Mario, you had the whistles, so you could always get back to the point you stopped at, where you turn the console off, and that's why they included it after one of the first levels. Just to bring in my Mario analogy.
Mario analogy
Suck him
aside, I think they do kind of need to fix this to a certain extent, because I think it's a good option for those that want it to be there. Now, if it's a case that you save your state and you just left exactly where you left it, that's golden, right? Like a quick save kind of functionality. It does mean that it's going to be easy for some people if they want to play it that way, but does that affect people who don't want to play it that way and just play it normally? No. Like, at the end of the day, right, people say things like Dark Souls, right, that they should add an easy mode in, and I completely disagree with that. Because it is just get good. We said it like 100 times on the podcast, just fucking get good, okay? That's it. There's no else to it. Don't baby around. They're not even hard games. Just fucking get good, okay? That's it. Now, this game's exactly the same, but when real life strikes and you need to leave the game, like me and Phil have very limited time. If I was on a killer run and I wanted to save it, then I'd love that optionality to be able to save it and walk away, and then maybe pick up Resident Evil 8 or pick up whatever other games. For me, I wouldn't abuse the save state. I wouldn't save before a boss and then go and fight that boss, lose, and then reload that save. I wouldn't do that, because that's not who I am. Some people would do that. Would that cheapen the experience?
Majority of people would do it, and it would cheapen the experience, because that's not how the game's intended.
No, but then at the same point, Spence, let's put this on a different kind of level, which you and me are both guilty for. Would we have got the Call of Duty Platinum if we hadn't have had the save state that we had with that Dead Ops mode?
No.
Is that fair that we had a Dead Ops mode save state put in?
Yeah, because that's for an optional platinum. That's not for completing the game. We're making progress slowly just to finish a game, whereas that was for an optional platinum that we didn't even really have to do.
Fair. Okay.
That's the way I see it. And honestly, I've been a bit quiet throughout Returnal. I'm gonna let Phil say his piece, and then I have so much to say. But Phil, say your piece.
So my little thing, just to dip in, gaming isn't just for kids anymore, There's adults with children that want to play these games, Like, if you need to go, you need to go. And I don't like it when you get punished for that in a game.
I feel the same as you. I feel the same, that my son might kick off. I might need to leave. There might be anything happen. There could be literally anything that happens in real life that you think, I've got to walk away from this. Like, I've got limited time. You might only have an hour a night. Your brother might be out on a killer run and you just want to save and just be like, I've got to get up for work the next day.
Especially if you're in like 4 hours deep into a single run and you lose that.
Yeah, I do think that's grim. And granted, for you and me, that hasn't been a problem so far, but that's because we're early days and we're early into the game. But later on, what if we have one killer run and we've done like 3 bosses in one go? I wouldn't want that to end, And I suppose, like you said, like you always say, Phil, choice is the bigger thing here. And if you don't have choice, then what is it?
I don't even mind them introducing this at a later stage, right? As a patch. And just saying, we've given you the game as we wanted it. And we've heard, a bit of feedback on this. And now we've introduced this. So the people that wanted to play the game, like Spencer, on the hardcore mode, and keep things, as I said, as the developer intended, they've done that and they've got as far as they can. But now they allow people to get a bit further in the game and save at certain points. There is going to be those people that will take advantage of that. But it's later on now. All the people that have completed it naturally, as the developers intended, have already done that.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that kind of crosses all bridges, doesn't it? And so for players like you and me, we probably won't ever use that feature. Like, I know I won't. I'll just suck it up and think, well, that's my run done, and I'll take that L. But there's some people who would feel really strongly against that, and I suppose that's why it's important to offer that functionality, even if it can potentially be abused.
What you've got to do is have some sort of consequence for using the save.
Ooh,
So
that's a good
say,
idea.
if you use the save, you don't get the trophy for completing the game.
Ooh.
Or you get a lesser trophy for doing it. There's got to be some kind of consequence.
They can't implement that, really. Not unless they do a trophy, like a gold trophy for beating the run in one sitting.
There's loads,
but
you
at
know,
the same
there's
time-
many games out there, isn't there, that you complete it without dying, right? And that would be your hard run. So maybe there's a trophy for completing the game without saving, if they were going to introduce this. Of course, to retrofit this now, probably impossible, right? You'd have to have that
impossible, yeah.
foresight into people complaining about not having that save.
It's not impossible. You add it on as DLC trophies. So you add it on as like a separate list, like they do with other games. Is they add it on as like a separate kind of subsection of trophies, like they do for New Game Plus in a lot of games. Like God of War has like a New Game Plus trophy for completing it on New Game Plus on the hardest difficulty, and they don't count towards the platinum, but they count towards your 100% ratio. That's what you mean, right? Like
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
But Spence, you've been pretty quiet on this entire topic, and I know you're way further in it than us, so you have way more to say about this. So spill the beans, mate. Let us know what you're thinking.
Right. I don't want to spoil anything. That's my issue. I had a God-blessed second run. My first run in the game, I died at the first boss, as everyone does. As everyone just does. My second run, I beat the first boss and the second boss. So I think this game is very much dependent on how lucky you get during your run, on what items you pick up, what weapon you find, what weapon proficiency you have when you find your weapon, because your weapon proficiency dictates what level of weapons you find in the future. So if you have a level 2 weapon proficiency, you'll only find level 2 weapons or roughly the same. The point I want to make, bosses after you beat them become optional.
Okay. What, you can go back and redo them?
You can find data cubes. And after you find a data cube, you have to beat the boss to then get the device to use the data cube.
Okay.
But if you don't have a data cube, you can then just, after you've beaten the boss one time, you can then skip the boss. There's a route you can take to just go to the next biome.
Okay.
You don't need to beat the boss again. If you have a data cube and you want to unlock what the data cube gives you, you can beat the boss and it will give you that data. And that's what bosses are useful for. So for me, I can skip straight from the first biome without even beating the first boss straight to the third biome.
Okay.
So that's why I don't think save points are very necessary with this game. It doesn't take me long to get back to where I was. And even if I do have to come off, I can either put it in rest mode because this is the only game I'm playing right now. Granted, if I was switching games, obviously I'd like a save function. But for a game like this, I just think save functions are cheap. I'd probably rather just start my run again than be able to save. Because it does not take me long, and I know it doesn't take me that long to get to where I need to be. But I'm just saying the need for save points really isn't that necessary. You can get to where you left off so fast.
You're kind of saying that once you beat a boss, there is a save state as such, because you don't have to beat them.
You don't have to repeat the boss. You really don't. I've skipped the second boss every time. You don't need to fight it again. From the first biome, you can get straight to the last biome you've been to. And that's it. Granted, I'm only at the third biome, so maybe it's from the first biome to the third and it doesn't progress further than that.
I imagine it would be the same throughout the rest, don't you?
I imagine it would be the same.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I suppose the only pushback I've had to this is what me and Phil have discussed already, which is a case of like, if real life strikes and you've got to go, then it would be nice to be able to save your run midpoint and kind of leave it there. Like, kind of like you spend the ether and you can use it at the regenerator thing, right? That you could just do that there and just kind of turn the game off and the game would know that you're back there at that point. Like, that would
It'd be
fine.
nice, yeah.
Like, that would be great. That'd be a great little solution. But guys, what do you feel about the adaptive triggers on this game? Because I think they're included in a really, really unique way.
This was what I meant when I said Ratchet and Clank felt like Returnal in the state of play. Because in that state of play, they mentioned that every single gun if you push the adaptive triggers halfway on L2, you had a single fire. And if you pushed it all the way, you had a multi-fire. And that's why I thought, with the dodge mechanic and the adaptive triggers working the same way, this is just Returnal, but with like a more in-depth story. The way adaptive triggers work in Returnal is you have your normal fire, and then you push your adaptive trigger all the way past where the adaptive trigger tries to stop you, you have an alt fire. And at first, I hated it. I didn't like it at first, because I kept accidentally using my alt fire. But then once I got used to it, I thought, you know what, this is amazing. This feels really nice.
Do you not feel this would just become the standard going forward with PS5?
Game specifically, yes. I don't think it would ever be the standard on Call of Duty, because it shouldn't be. Adaptive triggers work so much different for a game like that, but for like games that would include separate fire options, like maybe a gun would be semi-automatic if you're half pressed, but then fully automatic if you're full pressed, that would be amazing. And I would really like that. But they could do that in Call of Duty as well, to be fair. Shit, man, I don't know.
I don't see why they couldn't, because I think it works great. I think it works really, really well, and it gives you an extra layer of optionality. Although I do feel, and this is probably a little bit, this probably goes against it a little bit, to be fair, the R1 button's completely unused so far, for what I've found.
It is.
Now, I don't know if that would change later on in the game, I'm not sure, but as it stands at the moment, R1 does nothing. So you could literally just have an R1 pressed to do the same thing the adaptive trigger does, right? Like, you could probably just map that on the triggers. Now, I suppose there could be something when I get into Biome 5 or Biome 2 or whatever it is, that R1 does something, and it probably will. So this point's probably mute.
I'm on Biome 3. You've just made me realise, yeah, R1 doesn't do shit.
It could literally just be that, right? You could just press R1, go into alternate fire mode, and to be fair, it would probably be more user-friendly. Because I am struggling with that. I am struggling with that quite a bit. I don't think the force is there as much as it needs to be to make that differentiation. Sure. Like, when I pick up a sniper rifle on Call of Duty and I press that trigger down, you know you're pulling that gun up, right? It is hard. Or, like, you think in Astros, where you're going to use your points on that arm to, like, on that pachinko machine, and you're, like, pulling those little tablets out, and you've got no coins left, and it is solid, right? It just doesn't move. So there's a...
Doesn't let you, yeah.
Yeah, so I think there probably could be a little bit more force in it for me, but I know that the longer I spend on it, the less that's going to become an issue, because I'll be able to tell the difference. So I know that's only a short-term thing, but it took me a while to get used to that. It took me a good hour or so, the very least.
I want to ask, Biome 1 specifically, what's your least favourite enemy? Because I have one very much in mind that I hate. And I want to hear if it's the same as you.
The one that normally kills me is the big dog with the shield.
Yeah, with the little red tentacles sticking
I
out.
don't know the names of them, but that
No, that's the one that kills me, I'm
me.
on about the one you hate. That kills me more often than this one.
So
I
hate it, because that's the one that kills me.
What's yours?
For me, it's the turret, just because I have to close the space and kill him. He's easy to kill, but
with the shield on it.
Yeah, it's just annoying.
You have to use the sword.
Yeah, I love using the sword. I use the sword and everything. As soon as you get them red bar, sword time. You just start running in with the sword, right? Easy. GG's. But for me, they're just annoying, because I'm fighting everything else. I'm dodging everything. I've got 5 times multiplier. And then I got to just run all the way across the other side of the map just to finish off 2 fucking turrets. It's just annoying that I can't just shoot them.
I mean, if your alt fire is the shield breaker, you can.
Yeah, but it's not. It's always electric on everything I'm using. It's always just that little short burst electric gun. So I can't.
The electroshock.
So I can't do anything.
Use that.
Well, I can't change it, can I? Unless I pick up a different gun.
Well, you can decide what you pick up, you know.
Yeah, but all the machine guns in Biome 1 seem to have that on there as their alt fire. So
no, it's always random. It's always random.
Well, that's all I've had. So it's like, I'm like, oh, I gotta run a fucking miles away now just to fucking slice him. Does my head in.
I always seem to get vertical or horizontal barrage.
No, I haven't even had either of those, I don't think.
My least favourite enemy from Biome 1 is those tree fuckers that just chuck green shit at you and stick you in place.
Oh, they're easy. They're easy to deal with.
No, but they just suck because they're always surrounded with other things, and then they teleport. So you're shooting them in the head, which is their only weak spot, and then they teleport somewhere. You can't shoot them. You're stuck in some green sap, and then there's Phil's least favourite enemy on your ass, and you can't dodge your way.
Get good, mate.
I'm on buy on free, mate. What you saying?
As this would normally be in our what we've been playing section, so it feels right to put an early rating on it. What would you say?
I will say before I rate it, in true Spencer fashion, I did experience a bug.
Oh, go on.
I showed it to you on Discord one time, and it was basically an audio bug. And it was in Biome 3 during my second run, where I was playing for maybe 3 hours and 15 minutes. It was a long run. It was literally my second run. I was playing for ages. And it's the reason I died, because it put me off so much. Where instead of the in-game audio just sounding as perfect as it does, all I heard was just screeches and just in my ears are like 600% volume. And I literally had to chuck my headset off my head and I died.
That would do it.
The game audio just fucked me. I thought I was going to go deaf. The game audio fucked me. And I've not seen anyone else complain about this bug. It might have just been me. I've DM'd Housemark. Some guy who worked on the game replied to my tweet saying thanks for enjoying the game. And I replied to him be like, yes, great, but I did experience this, so sort it out, please. And he said, oh, I'm not working on it anymore. And I was like, oh, great help you are. Brilliant. And then I don't know what to do. But I've not experienced this bug again. But I know what enemy caused this bug as well. And I told Housemark what enemy caused this bug. I can't say to you boys, because I haven't experienced it yet. But they need to fix it, because fuck me. If you're playing this game with headphones, just as soon as you hear a screeching sound or something that doesn't sound normal, take your headphones off your head. You might go deaf. And we already have enough blind listeners. We don't need deaf listeners. Please.
Yeah, we wouldn't be a very good podcast for the deaf. For the blind, we're very inclusive. But for the deaf listeners, you might struggle with this.
A little bit. We don't print in Braille.
So Spence, you're playing on headphones, Davey? Headphones?
Headphones, yeah, Headphone Nation.
Yeah, I'm playing just surround sound in the living room. Maybe that's a good thing I'm not playing on headphones if there's a screechy part to the game, but of course I've got to get that far in the game, so I think I'm safe for now.
So what about yourself, Phil? Where would you rank this at the moment? Where would you rate this? Or do you think it's too early for you to be able to give even an informal judgment?
No, I mean, I didn't rank it.
Oh,
Are we doing it out of 10? Or out of 100?
Whatever your normal scale is, Spence. Your scale's already fine.
104, because that's the top.
87 out of 100, 8.7 out of 10.
Very high. That's in line with the Metacritic. What about yourself,
Yeah,
Phil?
it's very high.
I'd probably stick around. I've only had very limited time on it. I am really enjoying it, but probably not to the extent of the game that we're going to talk about next. So I'll stick it with, an average 7. 7, it's piqued my interest. I want to go back to it. Same as Abe's. I want to go back to it. I need to play more.
Yeah, for myself, I'd give it a solid 8. I think I'm really, really enjoying it. Really keen to get back into it. But my time has been taken up with the game that we're going to move into next. So the other game that we've been playing is Resident Evil 8 Village. Our most important game of the year for all three of us on the podcast is out. So here we go. First off, I suppose it's important to say that Spencer has not played this game yet.
Yeah, I've not played this game at all. I'm terrified of this topic. I'm so scared. I'm so worried about what I'm going to hear, namely from Phil.
I'm sorry, Spencer, for what I might say.
No, I trust Davey in terms of spoilers. I just don't trust you, man. I do trust you.
Just don't trust me.
I do trust you, just not in terms of spoilers. I really don't.
I wouldn't trust me. I'll get carried away.
There's going to be no spoilers on this podcast, so for our listeners, I will make sure to edit out any potential spoilers, okay? So there will not be any at all in this. So this is the day that Resident Evil 8 launches that we're recording this, and for me, Phil, and Spencer, we all ordered through Shop 2. And Shop 2 have never really done us wrong. You normally get the game a day before its actual release. But this time, that was not the case. I didn't end up getting my game until 1:45. Phil, what about yourself? Were you luckier than me?
My game arrived slightly after you. Arrived about 2 o'clock. I know this because that's when League of Legends was starting. I was hoping actually I might get the first game in for the MSI, but unfortunately not. So the minute it dropped, through my letterbox. Of course, I banged it straight in the PlayStation and started to install it. But I had taken the day off work to play this game. So it's a little disappointing after you guys led me up the garden path about how good Shop 2 is and, getting it early and things like that. You guys had me on the hype train there, but 2 o'clock, that's a late delivery. The Amazon guy actually turned up to my house twice today.
Yeah, but after ordering your PS5 from Amazon, you can't. Come on.
Yeah, no.
You can't say
the
Amazon
PlayStation
there.
5, that was a bad experience, but Amazon delivery man, he turned up to my house twice. Or 2 different Amazon people turned up to my house.
Now, I also want to say this. With Returnal, I didn't get my Returnal a day early either.
No, neither did I. I was going to mention the exact same thing. Same as me.
It's kind of got me thinking, boys. I might end up going digital for a lot of purchases in the future. I might end up doing it because with the amount that, as we've already said before in the podcast, I could probably save the money, like a difference on brand new releases by buying like codes for PlayStation top up through different sites. I might even be able to get a cheaper deal going digital on new releases. Now, when it comes to physical releases, if it's coming later, of course I'll get physical, right? Because I can get them secondhand, so I can get them way cheaper than I could do online. But new releases day one, I could have been playing this from midnight, and it just fucks me off. 'Cause that's 14 hours gone. Who needs sleep when you got Resident Evil 8,
But would you have played it for those 14 hours straight? I feel like the experience I had for the 3 hours I actually got to play the game was quite good. I actually left it at quite a good point in the game where I needed a break. Would you have just played straight through? Are you the straight through crew?
I'm not straight through crew, but I probably would have got 2 odd hours into it last night and then probably another 3 or 4 today. So I probably would have got like most of the way through the entire game.
Right. Well, we know I ordered Shop 2 as well. I was at my girlfriend's house because I stayed over there last night, so I have no idea when it arrived. But I guess the only benefit we got from Shop 2 is we got some shitty lenticular sleeve on our case. I don't know how you boys feel about the lenticular sleeve, but I think it's...
I like it.
I like it, yeah, but it's a bit shit. From a lenticular sleeve, usually the way those work is they're the kind of things where you look at them and they show a different thing when you look at it from different angles. This doesn't. It shows the same thing from a different angle, and you look at it again, it shows the same thing, slightly different angle. Yeah, it looks a little bit 3D, it's not really. Sides and the back are just see-through. I feel like this lenticular sleeve cost them 27 pence to make. I don't know how you boys feel.
I really like your pricing that you give for lenticular sleeves. It seems like as if you're kind of in the industry for that. That's a very specific cost.
I feel like it's cheap, mate. I feel like it's just cheap.
I like it. I think it adds to it. I think it's just nice to get that on a physical release. And Christ, I remember when I was in HMV, this is a throwback, right?
Jeez.
When I was in HMV and they had Street Fighter 4 there, but it was like the PlayStation, like the first run of it on PlayStation 3, right? And they had like a lenticular sleeve, and I tried to nick it. I tried to nick it so bad. Just because I was like, if I can just take the sleeve off, I can just put it on my copy at home. No, and
Did you get caught?
Peng, right? I didn't get caught, but my
moral compass?
My moral compass, man, stepped in. It's like, you're not a thief.
Pussy.
And I was like, I don't want to pay 40 quid for this game again just so I can have this sleeve. And I was like, oh.
See, I have a very similar story, whereas it wasn't that. It was, I was in CEX, and Dark Souls 3 was £15. And then next to it was Dark Souls 3 Steelbook with the soundtrack was also £15. So I was just like, oh, what am I doing? I had Dark Souls 3 in my hand already. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I grabbed the Steelbook, took it up to the bloke, and he just went, oh. He went to put the disc in and saw, there's 2 disc trays. And I was just like, yeah. It comes with the soundtrack. And he was just like, oh. He ended up having to go under the shelves, dig out some dusty old soundtrack and be like, oh yeah. And he put it in a sleeve as well. So I have a little sleeve for my Dark Souls 3 Steelbook too. Blessed. And it was £15. Same price as just a normal Dark Souls 3.
Done well there.
And he was just like, you got a bargain. And I was like, yeah, I know.
The only way you could get that, if I remember rightly, was with the collector's edition of the game, which I own.
Really?
So I ended up paying 120 odd quid for the collector's edition, which was a statue, that case, everything, yeah.
And I paid 15 quid.
Yeah. We didn't get the statue I got, though. Statue's good. But and I got the art book, and I got a really
Oh,
good
I'd
art
love
book.
the art book, to be fair. I would love the art in Dark Souls is fucking brilliant.
But we're going off.
We are going off.
I was going to say, this is the Resident Evil topic, and we're trying to talk about other games. What's going on, lads? Pull yourself together.
I suppose the important thing is then, Phil, you and me are around about the same point in the game when we've spoken in DMs. What are your thoughts this early on into the game?
There's a lot of set pieces in this game. There's a lot of scripted action to it. I don't know if there's much game to it initially.
How do you mean?
How do I mean? And I can see Spencer squint in a way. I just feel like the first section of the game, and I'm not saying the full 3 hours, there is definitely some game in that 3 hours, but a lot of it is just trying to tell you the story. There's not much skill involved in what you're doing. You're just along for the ride.
I vehemently disagree with you.
Okay,
that's
bring
a
it on.
strong word. Go.
I can't be further away from you on this, actually. I've got problems with this game already, right? I've got issues.
So you're saying there's options in what you can do. You're saying there's variety in what you can do outside of follow this linear path from A to B, and this story is going to happen regardless of what you do, pretty much. It might be the difficulty I'm playing on. I have started this game on normal, which I am instantly regretting, because it is super easy and I feel overpowered in every confrontation with any boss or enemy. I've only died once.
You're looking at Resident Evil from the wrong way. Resident Evil hasn't been that way with optionality in route since Resident Evil 2. You can't look at it from that way. Resident Evil 7 is exactly the same in terms of how you approach that. You've got one set route, you got options for exploration, which this game gives you. It's got all that exactly the same. Now, your issues you had in terms of combat, resources, everything, I completely agree with you. I think, yeah, you're giving far too much, right? I'm literally at the point where I'm at now, I've got 4 medkits all the time. I've got no chance of anything killing me. I haven't died to any enemy at all. No chance of that. Every enemy I got a chance, there's like sections where I could stealth it and I could avoid confrontation. And I've said, fuck this, I'm going at them, right? And I've put a mine down, I've just gone for them. Now, that could be the difficulty, right? But in terms of the actual exploration around that environment, it's really good for that. There is so much there to be able to go around and look for currency or to look for ammunition or to look for resources. It reminds me of a lot more of like The Last of Us than it does typical Resident Evil in terms of going around and looking through drawers and stuff like that. It reminds me so much of that.
But without the need to go searching, what's the point in it, right? At the moment, I'm walking through, my bags are full of ammo, full of weaponry, full of healing potions. I walk around, I can take like 7 hits from a bad guy before I'm even on danger. And I might be exaggerating slightly here, but I feel like literally invincible when I'm walking around the game.
I don't know what you're doing. I don't know if the adaptive difficulty is being nice to you or not, but I can take 2 hits and I'm just about dead, right? And that's using block functionality. And I'm walking around with loads of ammo for moments. It's doing the classic Resident Evil thing for me at the moment, where I'm loaded up, absolutely loaded up, and next thing you know, I've got nothing. And that's happening a lot throughout the game, what I'm realizing.
That's only happened once with me. That was around one of the boss fights, which I won't go into.
But I've been using a lot of my resources with the Duke. So I've been using the Duke quite a lot. I got pretty much I got 2 of my weapons now fully loaded up, and 1 semi-done.
You've got 3 weapons?
Yes, yeah.
Outside the knife.
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
obvious, right.
And so I'm spending a lot of resources with him and going around for the treasures and going around for all the stuff that's around the environment. And so I've been playing it quite slow. I've been playing it quite methodical. And I've been taking on every single enemy encounter I can, because I've realized that ammunition, like you say, isn't as finite as resources I thought it might be. And you get rewarded, like in Resident Evil 4, for those enemy encounters with picking up money. So it makes sense to kill them.
And treasures as well, don't you?
Yes.
And one of the things I was going to talk to you about is those treasures. Are they literally just pick up and sell? Or do you feel like they have a purpose later on?
Well, I've already found one that you've got to combine stuff into.
Okay.
And so that's already sold me on the treasure system. I've already found one, and the difference between selling it normally was, say, like 9,000 silver, to when I sold it, when I combined it, was 27,000. So it sold me immediately on the system that, yes, it's not just a case of pick up whatever you get and sell it. Because I was thinking, oh no, it's Resident Evil 5 all over again. And then I found one thing. I found a ring that I could add something into, and I was like, yes, 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 yes.
I don't think I've found that yet.
One thing I would say about this game that's selling me on it a lot more, I was surprised by it, and I popped off. Now, me and Lottie are playing this together, and she said, oh, it's a lot more Resident Evil 1 than a lot of other Resident Evils. And I said, yeah, you're right. A lot of different puzzles in this game, but it's different style of puzzles. And I was very shocked by that. To me, it's a perfect mixture so far of Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 4, and Resident Evil 7. And the item inventory management is superb. I love it. It's exactly the same as Resident Evil 4.
That box is huge.
No, it's not.
You can fit 3 guns in it, and your knife, and ammo, and healing.
Did you upgrade it?
I haven't, no. That's basic.
I've upgraded mine.
Yeah, so yours is going to be huge.
It's big now. But it was.
Yeah,
I still had to organize everything in there to fit everything in.
Takes 2 seconds, mate.
I don't think that's a problem. You're thinking that's like a problem. It's a fun system to use, in my opinion. And I think Resident Evil 4 had the best item inventory in the entire series, hands down. Right? Hands down. There's like no debate with that. No debate. In fact, I won't even get into a debate with it, because it is the best. Including that in this is amazing. And it means I spend way too long. It's probably a difference in our playtime, actually, in the half hour extra, is me spending time in there, organising it. I love it. I do have issues with it. The same issues that you have, in terms of that I feel like I'm overpowered. But I think it might be the difficulty rather than the actual game. So I'll be looking forward to when I kind of finish it and kind of go back.
Regardless to my criticism, I am really enjoying the game. But I think what's done me in slightly is watching your YouTube, because I'm looking at Resident Evil through a different lens now. I'm picking out those things that you highlighted in previous titles that you either disliked or liked, and I'm saying, yes, this is turned up, this is turned up. And that's swaying my kind of opinion on the game and the experience.
That's so interesting. That's so interesting, really.
It really is.
I'm going into this completely open book, right? Like, I've got everything in front of me. It can do whatever it wants. And then by the end, I'll have made my decisions on what I like, what I don't, whatever it is. And as it stands, I love it. I'm really, really, really enjoying it so far. Really, really enjoying it. I think the voice acting has been superb. The amount of times that I've done the E3 twirl, like the E3 twirls where you're watching something and they say, this is the environment of Ghost of Tsushima. And they'll literally just scan around the environment really slowly, right? I do that cinematic pan everywhere I fucking go. Like, it's the most beautiful game I've ever laid eyes on. Now, there are issues. There's texture pop-in. I've noticed a couple of times textures have popped in, stuff like that. But overall, you go somewhere new and you're just like, holy hell.
One of the things that I don't want to go too deep on, but is a negative for me so far, is the bosses.
Okay. Do you mean the mini bosses?
Okay, the mini bosses, because I think we're referring to the same thing.
Yeah.
They're not challenging in any way or interesting.
One was.
Is that the one with the bookshelves?
Yeah.
And there's a thing in the center. Okay, that had a slight tactic to it. The other ones, nope.
You're totally right on that. You are. It's still fun to do.
And then even this last boss that we've both taken on, nothing to it. Just point, shoot. I'm overpowered. I'm taking you on with a pistol.
Pistol? Oh my God, I was there with a shotgun. I had pipe bombs.
I use the other things as well, but I'm literally there shooting this thing with a pistol. This, like, if this was real, this wouldn't happen. Like,
I think if any
you know what
of
I
this
mean?
was real,
it doesn't link up. Having this little pistol and this thing that I'm attacking,
mate. A T-Rex. I saw something online years ago, right, where it was saying like a T-Rex, everyone thinks they're really bad. You could just take one down with a shotgun. And I was like, oh, it kind of devalues the ferocity of a T-Rex, you know?
Yeah, but after the hype of this certain thing, I just feel a little let down by it.
This is the difference between you and me, though. You're quite a pessimist with a lot of things, and I'm quite an optimist. So I'm on the other side of
agree
this,
on that.
thinking like, I can't wait to see where this goes now. Whereas you're probably thinking, oh, that's the peak of it going down.
Well, we kind of know where it's going to go because we were introduced to these potential bosses early doors, weren't we?
And it's the same thing we saw in the trailer, actually, that was shown at the last showcase for Resident Evil 8, where they showed that.
So it's not
that
actually
one
a
meeting.
spoiler for Spence.
No, so they showed that meeting with all the different kind of bosses in one room or whatever after Heisenberg brings you in. So we'll have to kind of see. But I tell you what, that's quite interesting, really, in a way that you and me kind of feel very similar on a lot of the things in terms of our ability to actually take on the enemies. And I suppose the only thing that kind of goes in the game's favor is that you're rewarded for that combat with the pesos and the treasures and stuff like that. So it kind of makes sense that you'd have the ammo to be able to take them on. Whereas if you didn't have that ammo, you didn't have those resources, then you're kind of getting fucked because you don't get the treasures there to be able to upgrade your guns from the Duke, which you need to do to be able to take on more enemies, you know? It's like a self-fulfilling kind of gameplay loop.
I get what you're saying, but equally, I've got enough bullets to shoot them in the leg and take them out. Previous Resident Evil titles, if I missed that headshot, I would suffer. In this game, don't matter. Currently, on my difficulty setting, if I miss a shot, I don't care, I'll just spray a couple more. It's very Resident Evil 3 for me, remake, in that sense, that the bullets are plentiful, and ultimately, it doesn't matter if I miss one.
That's fair.
I'm not going back to like 2 or parts of 7, where if I miss that shot, I know that I might need to replay my save, right?
I get you on that. The only thing that I find kind of weird, right? Now, this is the problem of me playing 5 and 6 recently and 4, is that I stun an enemy and I run up to them, thinking I'm going to do a melee. I think of it every single time. It's crippling me a little bit, shooting them in the leg and then running up thinking like, press R2 for melee, and it doesn't do it, and I'm like, of course it doesn't do it. This is actual Resident Evil. This isn't fucking Resident Evil 4. And that is doing my head in a little bit. It's taking me a while to adjust to that. But I've been using the knife like crazy as I've been going through.
Yeah, I've been using the knife. Like smashing environmental things and, of course, trying to kill enemies just to spice it up a little bit, because otherwise I would just be killing them with the pistol.
We've already established the graphics are incredible for this game.
Yeah, totally agree.
How do you feel about the audio?
I think I'm on a slightly different experience to you, because you're probably playing with the headset. I've got the surround sound downstairs. And it definitely adds to that kind of like jumpiness. Those parts of that game, there was definitely jumpy moments, and that added to the kind of audio experience that I was going through. You know, I would know there's an enemy behind me, and I would want to run and hide early on in the game anyway, until I realised I was very overpowered. Then ultimately it didn't matter. I thought this game was going to be a lot more difficult, a lot more intense after the first encounter.
Oh my god. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. That first thing that happened, I had nothing. I was just like,
I was out of ammo. Yeah.
I was like, this is ridiculous. I said like I'm a vet at this series, right? Like this shouldn't happen to me. Yeah, I know what you mean. And I haven't had that experience since, to be fair. And it kind of did paint the first couple of hours in a different light to where they are right now. Where, like you say, it doesn't really matter. Like, you can just go ham. And you could buy ammo from the Duke and stuff like that, so it's not really too bad, although the ammo is mega expensive. Have you actually bought any ammo from him yet?
Shotgun's expensive, pistol's cheap.
It's per round.
Yeah.
It's expensive per round. Like, it adds
up.
It's
3,000 on the, shotgun, isn't it?
1,000
like
a piece.
150 on the, pistol,
It's
right?
1,000 a piece per round. Yeah. It's like
crafting's much better. You get much more back, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. And the crafting system's superb. Just like in 7, you got to choose what you craft. You know, whether you craft the health kit or whether you go for the ammunition. I love all that.
But again, with the crafting, it's in a different menu structure. So you've got your normal kind of, set of weaponry, and then it switches to another one where you've got all your crafting items.
Yeah, I like that.
So ultimately, you've got a massive bag going, haven't you?
Oh, I see what you mean. Like in terms of those resources taking up your inventory. Yeah, no, thank God that doesn't happen. Thank God, because that'd be a mess to organise. I'm glad that's separated.
Well, you've got 3, haven't you? Because you've got your weaponry,
Yeah.
you've got your kind of like crafting items, and then you've got your kind of jewels or valuables that you would find as well.
Yeah, treasures. Yeah.
Yeah, treasures.
And what I like is that this game pauses the action when you go into your menus. I like that. I do personally, because I'm constantly in the menus.
See, I don't know if I agree with that, because 7 made Resident Evil real because you're first person and you can't pause, so the action never stops. Now you're first person and you can pause it, so it's kind of like a halfway house. Doesn't feel as natural to me.
The amount of enemies you've got, if you couldn't do that, it would be a fucking nightmare. Like, it would actually be a nightmare. Whereas being able to pause it and recraft ammo, it's just a godsend. At the moment, I can't really say too much of a bad word about it. I love it. We'll see how it is by the end.
I can't wait to get back to playing it, to be honest.
No, nor can I. Nor can I.
So, be playing that all day tomorrow. So hopefully we'll have that completed tomorrow, I think.
But I suppose before we end this section, Spence, are there any questions about the game that you want to ask us?
Right. I've had my headset off for the majority of that. I don't want to ask anything. I hate to say it. I don't want to ask fucking anything.
And that's it then. We will end this podcast there.
Thank you.
Thank you ever so much for listening, listeners. Now, as always, I am Team Alabama till I die. So, Team Alabama, I need you guys to share the podcast round, share it with your friends, share it with everyone you know, so that you can try and take over the top spot from Washington, who are on a bit of a cane at the minute.
I am Team Texas, and let's show those Virginians. Let's take that 3rd place away from them, and let's try and move up the standing here, guys. I am #Team Texas.
All right, well, Washington, lads. One more week and you get Robot Wars. Let's get it. Free PS1 game. What you gonna say? Come on. We won that. We fucking won that.
So as always, guys, thank you ever so much for your support. We really, really appreciate it. We hope you're enjoying the podcast. Now, if you want to take part in the show, then write into the email, pswetrust@gmail.com.
Or join us on Reddit. The URL will be in the description.
Or feel free to hit us up on Twitter @NPSWeTrust or our individual Twitter accounts, which will be in the description below. And also feel free to leave a review on Apple Podcasts.
Thank you ever so much for your time. I've been Davey.
I've been Phil.
And I've been Spencer.
Take care, guys.
Peace.
In PS We Trust is hosted by Davey, Phil, and Spencer. You can write into the show via our email, pswetrust@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @InPSWeTrust. To find each of us online, follow our Twitters, @SSJDavey, @PhilipHoy, @SpenPie_. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. See ya.